Welcome to Citizen the platform where we speak. I hope I found you well. It's Citizen here, the platform where we speak truth to power. Please do join us and share this broadcast. Welcome, 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 welcome. You're seeing a thing going behind me, the Carve Up of Africa. It's called the Carve Up of Africa. Um, we must never tire. Good evening, Jerome Bicol and Ifaruku, I think it is, and VVBB. Good evening to you all. Ofedul, thank you very much. Before I proceed, I give thanks to my to Elejumari. I give thanks to my African ancestors. I give thanks to Eshu, Obatala, Ogun, Shango, Yemoja, uh, um, and others, Irumole, Egungun, and all of the Alales, and of course Oduduwa as well, and my own Idile, my ancestor. Um, so I greet them. May it please them that today's broadcast um, delivers the message as they intended for me to pass the message on. I I am very aware that none of what I do is of my own making, but that of my ancestors that are coursing through my blood. And I pray that I am able to deliver the message as they intended it. So shall it be. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Good evening to you all. Welcome. You're watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. This evening, today being the 5th of May, it's the last day of the Yoruba calendar. The last day we have a 4-day calendar, a 4-day calendar in Yoruba culture, and the 4 days is today being the last day. It's known as Ojo Shogo Jakuta. That's what it's known. Um, it's important to know that yes, of course, we are still going to be using the Gregorian calendar, but more and more, we should be familiar with the Yoruba calendar. Let me see if I can actually show you something quickly online on here. So this is, I'm going to make that go bigger slightly. I need you to see it yourself. Okay, I'm going to focus on that. So this is what I do. I mean, this is the calendar. Today being the 5th. The 5th now shows us Ojo Shogo Jakuta. We have to familiarize ourselves. Those of you who are on TikTok, you may not see this message. So please do share, share, and share. Share, share, and share. Let me give it to many others. I'll add as many people as possible. And those who can join me can, of course, join me. It's very important that we do as much of what we're doing as possible. Get this information out there. We need to change our mindset, and it requires us knowing who we are. We have to be proud of being Africans first and foremost. We have to be proud of being Africans first and foremost. Let us embrace very much who we are. And in that vein, we're going on and talking about this. Now, when I'm talking about this, please always bear in mind that on this platform, we are not coming about just complaining, oh, they did this, they did that. Every time you see Citizen AY on my broadcast, you will see me talk about things from the point of view of, let me see if you can connect this, from the point of view of solutions. We are preferring solutions to our own problems. And it is very important that we all are aware of that. Let me see. So please do share. I encourage you all. Give us a follow. Follow us on YouTube as well. We are live on YouTube and on TikTok right now. Yes, we recognize that it's a bank holiday coming up according to the Gregorian calendar. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me and we're connected. Those of you that are on TikTok. And of course, welcome on board to those of you on YouTube also. So like I was saying, today being the 5th day, the month that we have in Yoruba calendar is known as Oshuagairawe. It is very important that we begin to familiarize ourselves with our cultural signposts. Our calendar is very much our cultural signpost. And as I've said so many times on this broadcast, um, the 4 days a week is very important because it follows the cycle of the moon. We follow the same calendar as the Igbo. We have the same calendar as the Igbos, the Dogon Empire, the Mali Empire, all over Africa. It is a 4-day a week calendar that culminates in 28 days in a month. That gives us 13 months in a year. It is crucial that we understand that. That is part of who we are. And the very fact that you are following, we've been following the Gregorian calendar, has removed that knowledge of who we are, what our ancestors did. This is why we talk about this. That is why you will see on my broadcast, I start the broadcast with my ancestors, and I talk about the days of the week of our ancestors. Please do share this broadcast. I greet you all. Now, the topic. So I'm going to move away. Those of you on YouTube, I'm moving away from the calendar. Please don't forget to subscribe to Citizen on YouTube, and of course follow us, and of course share this broadcast. So what you're looking behind me, those of you on TikTok and on YouTube, you will see an image behind me, and the image is very, very simple. It says the Carve Up of Africa. Now it shows you the map, and I will tell you the signs. The colors indicate certain things, and I want you to follow that. And I have at least about 7 points that I want to cover on this broadcast. And it's really important. Again, the object of this broadcast is to ensure we understand what was done as Africans, and then to come up with solutions. I want to say that many of us should really be looking at the Alliance of Sahel states. The Alliance of Sahel states is a very, very important signpost, again, a very important thing that is happening on the African soil. It is showing that Africa is not waiting for somebody to come and help. Africa is not waiting for a god in the sky to come and help anybody. Africans are taking control, because in the Alliance of Sahel area, Sahel states, they are not waiting for any god in the sky. They're not waiting for Allah. They're not waiting for Muhammad. They are taking control of their own destiny. And that needs to happen across the whole of Africa. So we must support and look closely at what is being done in the Alliance of Sahel States. Again, once again, I salute Asim Goita, I salute Ibrahim Traore, and I salute General Chiani. They formed Alliance of Sahel States, and all for one and one for all. That is their motto. We need to really acknowledge that. That is a blueprint. There's a signpost of how we should be doing things in Africa. All the other bodies, African Union, ECOWAS, and all the other bodies that you have on the African continent right now, excluding the Alliance of Sahel States, they are not serving the purpose of Africa. End of story. They simply aren't serving the purpose of Africa. And that is why we are highlighting the points that we're doing today. Now let's go and look up the Carve Up in greater detail. It says here, this is the words that was written. The words I'm about to read to you were written. Yes, you touch one, you touch all. Thank you very much. Let me put it there. Perfect. I'm going to pin those words. You touch one, you touch all. We need to be doing that in Africa. We can no longer just be talking now. We need to make sure we start building this. Alliance of Sahel States is something that every part of Africa must be watching closely, and we must be telling our governments, those who are in the West African area, we need to start actively ensuring that how we can find a way to make sure that we now become part of that Alliance of Sahel States, make it a bigger organization because it is Africa focused. Alliance of Sahel States is focused on the benefits of the African resources going first and foremost to Africans. Of course, you have to do deals. Of course, you have to have a memorandum of understanding. Niger has a memorandum of understanding with China, and they have a memorandum of understanding with Russia, and they are trading on their terms. Currently, in other areas of Africa, Africa is not trading on African terms. We are trading on the terms of those who colonize and who are oppressing the African continent. Big difference. So that is why I'm saying we need to support the Alliance of Sahel States. Very, very important point. Now, let's go forward. I'm going to read something to you and listen to it. I'll see if I can make it smaller here. Can I make it smaller? I don't know if I'll try and make it. Okay, I'll do it this way. I need you to just hear me out, and we're going to talk about this. And always, please, always know that we have solutions to our problems. One of the things that we must start doing in Africa is to always know that we have the solution to our problems. I want you to, if you have taken anything away from this broadcast, it is for you to know that as an African, there is no problem that you can't solve. Let me say that again. If there's anything that you are going to take away from this broadcast as an African, it is that there is no problem on this planet, and I mean literally none, that you can't solve. You have infinite resources of problem solving within your DNA, within your surroundings. Your surroundings provide solutions. All you need is to begin to connect your mind and be able to, and the solutions will come to you. And your ancestors as well. Talk to your ancestors. Speak to them. They will remind you. They will send thoughts your way. They will give you a guidance as well. That is really important. So before you start talking to the gods of Christianity, the gods of Islam, you need to speak and connect to your own ancestors. Because within you, within your DNA, your ancestors have given you the answers. I'm saying it again. There is no problem on the African continent that you as an African cannot solve. When those are telling you to believe in Jesus Christ and you will be and then you will no longer be poor. Believe in Allah and you will no longer, all that is a way to take your mind away from knowing that you've been given everything you need to survive. You have everything you need and more on the African continent to thrive. You need to believe that. We need to start sharing that in our community. That is a message that we must be sharing across the whole of Africa. Is it mineral resources we have? We have it. Is it the know-how we have? We have it. Is it the weather? Is it the soil? You name it. We are infinitely blessed on the African continent. Those who colonize both Islam and Christianity know this fact. So they have to give you something to take your minds away of the very things that you already have and make you think of things that they want you to think that you need, and you become helpless. So please, on the African continent, I want you to never ever have in your mind that you are helpless. That's the first thing. And that is why we must support the Alliance of Sahel States. Now, let us read this now in a bit more detail. Please do share. Good evening, Queen. Welcome on board. And Glow, good evening. So now, let us read this now. Those of you on YouTube, you will also see it. It says, I don't want to read the words behind because it's going to distract you. I'm going to touch on that later on. You'll become clear later on with that one, but I wanted to let you see these words. Okay. Now, listen to this. The colonials in 1884, when 14 European countries, please, when I say this, it's not for you to get angry. I need you to understand what was done. If you don't understand what was done, you can't fix it. And the Bible and the Quran doesn't let you know what was done. They don't tell you what they did to your ancestors and how it is affecting you till today. So what we need to do as Africans is to know what was done. However painful, let us know it. So we know the genesis or the beginning, if you like, of how things got to the point it was. So briefly, we know that in the 7th century, Islam came from Mecca and Arab countries, and then they came and said you have to give yourself to Allah and all of that stuff. Initially, Islam was saying, no, we are happy to work with your. One of the things that we Africans are very good at, we are very accommodating. So on the African continent, they say, oh, please, you want to do your Muslim practice, go ahead. Yeah, we can do it with our own ancestors, with our own deities. We'll give you space. Go ahead. We won't disturb you. Practice your religion. Then gradually, as they started taking over and enslaving, Islam started imposing Islam on Africans. And then by so doing, they started destroying and wiping out cultures of African kingdoms. These are facts, and I'll give you the evidence as I speak on. But I wanted you to have that background. And then, of course, in the 1452 or 1492, you then had the colonials, the European colonials back doing what they were doing, and then which culminated in after 1452 to 1884, more than 300-400 years. After that, they now come with this thing known as the Berlin Conference. Now, at that Berlin Conference, I'm going to read to you the words that they said there. So you see now, I'm not just trying to tell you something that's pointless. We need to understand the process. So you see, I've told you what happened on the African continent. And it's very important to understand that. Now, let us now read what was said at the Berlin Conference of 1884, where they made a decision to carve up Africa to the nations that you see till date. And there was some collusion with the Arabs in this as well. There is some collusion, but you will see it on the map. Now, so when they finished carving up Africa, they said these words: the injection of colonists, but also the whitening of the quotidian. Quotidian means routine of the Africans, removing them of any form of autonomy to eat, to dress according to sleep, to say, to pray, to walk, to organize the house, European models. So what that meant was that not only when they say that Christianity was there to just bring you and make you believe in Christ and give yourself to Christ. Christianity never came to Africa on its own. It was part of a plan. You need to understand that Islam is the same thing. It was part of a plan. They came in slowly. Islam came. If you don't, when they started talking and initially they allowed the cultures to coexist, and then they started imposing. Christianity came subtly. Oh, give yourself to Christ. And they were very, very deceptive in what was going on. And you need to understand that. That is the reality of what happened. It's not about debating, it's the facts. Now, what I just read there, what that meant was that after the part of the plan was to bring in Christianity. And under the guise of Christianity, they changed how you eat, how you sleep, how you pray, how you walk, how you organize. Your entire social structure of your own ancestors was ripped from you as an African. And that's the reality. I'm not saying this out of hate, but you need to understand what was done. Now, what is the connection to the map? Okay, let's go and look at the map. Now, in the map, the red areas are Arabic. The red areas of the map, they are Arabic. The blue areas of the map, now they are French. They are French. The yellow areas of the map, they are English. You understand that? So, very, very important we understand that was what was done. Initially, the whole of the countries, the ones on the top there, in that area that was where the red area was largely in the hands of the French. It was largely in the hands of the French. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. You know what? They were like, no, Egypt was perhaps more in the UK government's hand because of the pyramids and all of that stuff. There were a lot of discussions around that, but Arabs were there also. So, but then over time, what they did, if you look at it, they did this thing. If you go to many African countries, you will always know that there is a northern side and there is a southern side. And in many African countries, the north are always Muslims. The northern part of the country are always Muslim. Almost, go and check it. In Nigeria, the northern part, they are Muslims. The southern part, they are Christians. All of these were systems designed to ensure that there was continuous division, continuous, prevention of Africans actually working as a unit. To always be, having some people, leaning towards Christianity, some to Islam, all to ensure that there was no cohesive action among Africans to free themselves. Again, on top of all that, on top of the religion, of course, we know that they did things like this tribalism. Tribalism was brought in to ensure that we started focusing on each other. Oh, this one is better than that. Tutsi and Hutsis. That was tribalistic, and it was deliberately put in here by the French to cause frictions so that they can control. These are, in Rwanda by Congo. So these are things that was done, and we need to really understand that. Now, if you look at it, the reason why those maps are in those nations in red are there is not only for the it's not only for the religion of Islam. No. Anytime somebody comes with a religion, they come with not just that religion, but they want to trade. Trade is part of their religion, and we need to understand that. Whether you are Islamic, whether you are Christian, trade is the real, they want to control the trade. Now, they don't want you to control what they are going to buy from you or the price. They want to control what you will make on your land. Do you get it? You need to understand that. As Africans, we have to understand that. That is why you now begin to make sense. In the northern Africa, the Arabs were able to travel to those places, obviously because of slave trade in the 7th century. They had, deep roots there because of the enslavement of Africans that they've been doing all this while. So, but naturally, by the time the colonials came, majority of the northern Africa had a lot of Arabs in there. And in fact, they took over many parts of Africa. Even though we know that the pyramids were built by black Africans, and there are people, certain areas, the Coptic Egyptians, for example, and all of this. Anyway, these are histories that we're going to talk about. I'm just giving you information so that you can understand and put this together and understand what was done. It's really, really important that we really understand that. Please do continue to like and give us thumbs up and all of that. I appreciate everybody sharing the broadcast and give us likes, and of course follow the broadcast. And of course, please don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube. Quick word to those of you on YouTube: if you're joining us for the first time, welcome on board. You're watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Let us quickly do this, if I can. I need to just do something right quick. Here we go. So go ahead and subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube. Hit the notification button, give us thumbs up, and of course, help us reach more people. We truly appreciate your support. It's really, really important. What we're trying to do here, we always, on this platform, every African must know that within you, you possess solutions to all the problems that you have. You need to understand that. Within you, in your DNA, are the solutions to the problem that you have. The trick is that the Bible and the Quran want you to believe that you are powerless unless you go through the Bible or the Quran. You don't need the Bible or the Quran to solve your problems. Your ancestors solved those problems. We can look at the ways of our ancestors and we can learn from them, and we can solve our problems on the African continent. I need us to really understand that. We have to put self-belief in ourselves. Because those religions, they make you powerless. They make you feel, oh, you're a slave to Allah, you're a slave to Jesus Christ, you're not worthy, you have to be born again. When they mean born again, they mean they want you to be totally lost and never remember who you are. That is why you need to connect to your ancestors. Now, let's go on a bit more. So now, we've talked about the northern area, the red area, Arabs, and what do you call it? The Arabs in the north, and of course, those areas, they were putting in controls, because now, you will hear the Arabs say, oh, you are an infidel. And they always say that on the African continent. That means that they are telling the people the Africans who are on the African continent, practicing their ways of their ancestors, that if you do not follow Islam, you are an infidel in your own land. It's one thing to be in an Arab land, and you, as an African, and you go there and they say you have to pray because this is what we do here. If you don't, you are an infidel. I can understand that. You can see the logic. That makes sense. But when you are on the African continent, and under the guise of saying you follow Islam, you now tell them because they don't follow Islam, they are infidel. That is, you have taken over their land. You've made them forget who they are as a people. And that is what has been happening for a long time. It is very important to understand that as Africans. So both Islam and Christianity are guilty of this. They have different ways. Islam used force. Christianity used deception. Europeans, Arabs used force with the religion of Islam. Europeans used deception. So, oh look, it's Christianity. No, you follow. Our way is the way and everything else. So they use that. All of them does. They use deception and force. And I'll give you examples of that in what I'm going to say. In fact, let me go and give you that example. So to link to the Carve Up of Africa till today. Now, let us go and look at what I will do it in the order because we all know that Muslims were in Africa in the 7th century. So here is what they have in Wikipedia and other areas. You can check it. I'm just giving you you can check this yourself. Now, it says here, and I'm going to read it to you. Traditional African religions have faced persecution from Christians and Muslims. Adherents of these religions have been forcefully converted to Islam and Christianity, demonized and marginalized. The atrocities include killings, waging war, destroying of sacred places, and other atrocities. You see that? So, now by Muslims, after the establishment of Islam, its rapid expansion and conquest displaced the traditional African religions. So, please, many of you who are Africans and all you've ever known on the African continent is Islam. You need to understand that before Islam, we had African spirituality that they destroyed. I'm saying this so that we understand who we are. Before you go and follow any other religion as an African, you need to know who you are. What your ancestors did, what they ate, what they wore, what they worshipped, because it makes sense of who you are. Again, I'll give you an example now. Many African countries have African kingdoms. They followed the cycle of the moon. That is to say, they had 28 days a month. As I speak to you, the religion of Christianity changed that. Many people do not see the connection between the days, the cycle of the moon, and our African spirituality, because that has been severed by both Islam and Christianity. So it's important that we really understand what is being done here. So let me just read a little bit more. After the establishment of Islam, its rapid expansion, conquest displaced traditional African regions, either by conversion, so either by converting or conquest. Traditional African religions, so conquest, you see, Muslim conquest of Maghreb, Arab conquest of Maghreb by the Rashidun and Umayyad Caliphate in 647, concluded in 79 when Byzantine Empire lost its remaining strongholds and Carve Up of Africa, the North African campaigns were part of. Anyway, it gives you an idea. I'm just telling you things here. So now, traditional African regions have influenced Islam in Africa, and Islam is considered as having more commonality with traditional African religions. But conflict has occurred, especially due to Islam's monotheistic stance. Monotheistic stance. What is monotheistic? Tawhid is the concept of monotheism. Tawhid is the religion's central and single most important concept, upon which a Muslim's entire religion adherence rests. It unequivocally holds that God is indivisibly one, ahad, and single, wahid. So you need to understand, I'm trying to give the breakdown. For those of you who are Africans and believe in Islam, you need to understand that before that, we had our African spirituality in every part of Africa. And this is, I'm going right back to the 7th century here, so that you can understand, we can all understand what was done. And it is part of who we are. And when you are praying and you're doing 5 times a week, it is not what your ancestors did. They imposed it because they said there has to be one God. That is their policy. That is the policy. That is the idea. I'll read that to you again. Tawhid is the concept of monotheism in Islam. Tawhid is the religion's central and single most important concept, upon which a Muslim's entire religious adherence rests. it unequivocally holds that God is indivisibly one, ahad, and single, wahid. So we need to really understand that this is what their aim was. We in Africa, we had many deities that we worship. In Yoruba land, the 4 days, we have Ojo Obatala, Ojo Orunmilaifa, Ojo Ogun, Ojo Shango Jakuta. So these are all deities that we worship. But for them to be able to gain control and take over that land, because they needed to stop people believing in their God. If for as long as somebody believes in their own God, you cannot control them. It's about mind control. This is about controlling the mind of the people. This is what we need to understand as Africans. And it is very important that when we're talking about this, I'm not talking about hate here, please. I'm only explaining. Religion of Islam, of course, should exist. Christianity should exist. But what I'm telling you is that those religions, by me saying, even as I'm saying that they should exist, they did everything possible. They are doing everything possible to wipe our African spirituality off the face of the earth. No lies told here. No lies told here. I tell no lies here. That's the fact as it stands. So let's read on a little bit more. The rise of Muslim reformers such as Askia, traditional African religions are tolerant. Listen to this word. Again, I've not read this bit. I'm just reading it to you now. Traditional African religions are tolerant of other gods. You see what I just said? I said that moments before, didn't I? And you're now hearing and confirming it here. So, traditional African religions are tolerant of other gods, which allows general coexistence for multiple religions. That is why you have in Yoruba land, in my family, we were practicing Christianity and Islam, and others were doing the spiritual ones as well. We coexist. That is part of who we are. That is our African. The reason why we are that way is because our African spirituality. That was one of the things that was allowed. It says so. Traditional African religions are tolerant of other gods. Our gods are not jealous. Our African gods are not jealous. Whereas the gods of Islam, the gods of Christianity, they are jealous gods. They don't want you to have other gods, because that is the way of control. It's about, you need to understand, I want you to understand, this is about the mind. They need to get control of the mind. Once they control the mind, they control the people, they control the land, they control, all of this is about control. And we need to understand that as Africans. Okay, so let's carry on for a little bit more. So now, the traditional, let me just see now. So let me see. I'll read this bit one more time. Traditional African religions are tolerant of other gods. And I need you as an African to know that. Our African spirituality are tolerant of other gods, which allows general coexistence for multiple religions. This has been regarded by some authors to be another reason behind the rise of other religions in Africa. We welcomed, like everything else, we welcome people, we do not, we believe there's room for everything to coexist. That is in our nature. That is not, please, when you see an African sort of saying, oh, welcome and everything else, you need to understand that is connected to our African spirituality that is now manifesting in the religion of Islam and Christianity. That is the foundation. We need to understand that as Africans. It's really important. It is not part of the religion of Christianity or part of the religion of Islam, because both religions believe that there is only one singular God, whereas in our African context, our African spirituality allows for multiple gods to be to coexist. That when you are doing that, when you are looking at Christianity and saying it's welcome, and Islam, you are operating from the foundation of African spirituality. No lies told here. You just heard it here. Let's carry on. Okay, so now, let me see. Most followers of the traditional religions accommodated Islam during the start of its spread in Africa. So initially, what we did, but in West Africa, it was not until the coming of colonialism that Islam gained mass appeal, transforming even groups with historical animosity towards Islamic domination into Muslim communities. Can you see what I'm saying? Now, let me just read that bit again. I need you to read that. I want you to listen to the bit I'm reading again. Please listen intently. Listen. I want you to listen to these words. Most followers of traditional religions accommodated Islam during the start of its spread in Africa. But in West Africa, it was not until the coming of colonialism that Islam gained mass appeal, transforming even groups with historical animosity towards Islamic domination into Muslim communities. That is to say, it now became Islam now had um, two, uh, two different, had one, it started from the Arabs, but the colonials used it to be able to ensure there was division. So when Frederick Lugard came into West Africa, when he went to Kaduna and Sokoto to try and take it over, he saw how people were very, very religiously strong in Sokoto. So he decided, no, don't change it. Do not change what you have. Keep that religion. Keep whatever you had there, and then they helped to spread it, to create division in the countries that they were going to create. So this was a tool. You need to, it did not start until, let me read those words again so that you can understand what I'm saying here. It says here, most followers of the traditional religions accommodated Islam during the start of its spread in Africa. So it was accommodated. Like I said, our African gods are not jealous gods. They're not. They prefer that we coexist. Live and let live. But the Christianity and Islam are jealous gods. They do not, you shall serve no other God but me. That is relevant and true in Islam, and it is relevant and true in Christianity. Can you see? So what Christianity did was to be able to ensure that there was division in the countries that they were going to, they're not even countries, they are open slave camps. I will tell you why in a minute. The open slave camps that they were about to create, they had to make sure that they encourage different areas to have different belief systems so that they will not be able to unite. This is all part of the plan. This is all part of the strategy. Okay, so now, let's go ahead. Now, in many instances, conflicting groups align with Muslim armies against the other African communities. So you see now, they would align under Islam and attack other African communities. Whereas all of them have both been impacted by Christianity and Islam. So this is how you can see now the foundation of the division that remains on the African continent till as I'm speaking right now. It's important to understand that. Okay, so I'm not going to read a bit more. You can look some more yourself, but let me show you I want to show you the second part of Christianity, of what Christianity did. So I'm going to go specifically into West Africa, so that you understand. And those of you following Christianity, please understand this. Again, it's not about hate, please. I need us to understand that these religions that they are telling you, it's a cover, it's a front for the plan. Those who are bringing that religion had an idea. The idea was to take over your land, to take over your mind, and take over what you did via religion and control you. And they still do till today. Okay, let's look at this. So now, look at this. The Niger expedition of 1841. I've talked about this, but in this context, I think it's very important to bring this into the discussion. So now, Niger expedition of 1841 was mounted by the British missionary activists groups, 1841-1842, using 3 British iron steam vessels. These were military warships. They were military warships. HMS, I can't remember. I remember the name of the HMS. HMS something. Anyway, you will hear different names that was used, and they were all princes of the king, of UK. Now, so at the confluence of Niger River, Benue River, what is now Nigeria, the British government backed the effort to make treaties with native people, introduce Christianity, and promote increased trade. Now, when they say promote increased trade, please, somebody explain to me, if you are talking about Christianity, why are you bringing trade? We are already trading in Africa. If you are really intent on just, having a Christian interaction with the Jesus, why attach trade? Trade allowed them to control. Once you signed treaties. They forced all African leaders, not just UK, the French, the Germans, the the Spanish, Italian for a time. Every part of Africa they went into, they made the kings to sign treaties. Treaties that meant that whoever they signed with was the only one they were allowed to trade with. It's important to understand this. And all the while they were telling you, oh, Christianity, Christianity. Oh, follow, just give yourself to Christ. Give yourself to God. And the reason why was they needed to control your thinking. No, you can't do that anymore. You can't trade anymore. We will tell you what to trade. We will tell you what to grow. Control. It's about control. So when you are talking about religion, you need to understand, and I'm not saying this out of hate, I'm saying this so that Africans, we can understand what the front, what when they say religion, you need to understand that it's a cover, it's a front. It comes in and it says, oh, yeah, just give yourself to Jesus Christ. And then when you do that, we are brothers now. We are brothers now. But no, you can't do what you did with your ancestors anymore. You can't worship your ancestors. You have to follow us. You can't eat those foods anymore. You have to eat the food we eat. They've controlled your mind. Both Christianity and Islam are doing that and are still doing that till today on the African continent. It's very important we understand that. And it's not about hate. It's just understanding, because a lot of people will fight. And when I see Africans, I've seen a lot of shows. I've been on shows where people will be fighting about the Bible said, the Quran said, and that's exactly what those things are there for. They are designed to occupy your mind and not understand what is really going on. They don't. Do you think those who gave you the Bible, do you think the Bible means anything to them other than as a deception? Do you think those who gave you the Quran, do you think it means anything to them other than having control over your thoughts? And your thoughts are occupied. And you prove that every time when you go to the church every Sunday, when you are arguing about Jesus is the only way, and you say Jesus is the only way, Islam is the only way. Whereas our own African ancestors welcome. They are not jealous gods. But they keep, these religions are telling you, no, you have to serve only Jesus Christ. You have to serve only Islam, Allah. And that is ensuring that we are fighting each other. Our communities. I'll come and talk about communities later. I don't want to go to that one. But let's just carry on. So now you see here. So like I said, the British government backed the effort to make treaties with native people, introduce Christianity and promote increased trade. Straight away, when you see that, you now know that Christianity was a way. Once they said you're giving yourself to Christ, they got control. They made you turn away from your own ancestors, your own deities. For example, in Yoruba land and Igbo land, they said our Satan and our issue is Satan. Our issue, which is nothing to do with that, is Satan, to make us turn away, and then they gain control of our mind that way. So it was not only about taking over, the religion. It was also about the trade. They needed to be able to get us to be doing the things they wanted us to do on our land for them. Do you understand? This is what the religions are about. We have to really understand that concept. When you are fighting each other on African, I just look sometimes, I just go and I think, you don't fully understand what has been done. And I'm hoping that by looking at the picture behind me, and those of you on TikTok, maybe it can make, I'm providing, hi, Eblaze, thank you very much, hi. So it's very important to understand how powerful this thing is. It's a mind control. It's about mind control. It really is. Okay, so let's go forward a bit more. So the expedition was put in motion at Exeter Hall. It was chaired by Prince Albert. So there was a ship called Prince Albert that went down, and I went also, but I will talk about that. The organizers of the Society of the Extinction of Slave Trade. You see, they even called it Extinction of Slave Trade. They were no longer, you see, it was becoming difficult for them to actually keep slave trade going because the people were fighting. A lot of Africans fought back, and it was difficult for them to retain control. So what they decided was, okay, we will take over the entire land and take over their minds. This is about mind control. And right now, when you are an African and you're saying, I give myself to Christ, you are doing exactly what the plan in this expedition is saying. Your mind is controlled by what they've given you. and you cannot move away from it unless you look to your ancestors. This is what we're saying. I'm not trying to create hate here, but I'm hoping that to enlighten, Sorry, what I do think is that forget about religion, but we are spiritually. A lot of us loses it. Yeah. Yes, you're right. You're right. I agree. Yes. That's the point I'm trying to make. So a lot of us are really losing it. But anyway, I'll go ahead and explain why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm just trying to, build a picture here. Now, so we now talked about the new Africa policy based on series of treaties made in West Africa. You see that? Based on series of treaties. Now, African kings did not want treaties. The treaties was one way. Yeah, exactly. Then the wicked take control using simple tricks. Thank you. That's it. That is it. That is it. So now, like I said, they said now, Buxton was promoting grandiose new Africa policy based on series of treaties in West Africa. So now what they did was they came into West Africa and said to all of the kings, everybody, in fact, the whole of Africa, not just West Africa alone, but in the UK, because that was the area they had control, they were forcing the kings to sign treaties. And every king that signed a treaty became a vassal king straight away. Once you're a vassal king, vassal means you're a slave king. And but these are the people who are telling you to give yourself to Christ. So they are coming on one hand and say, give yourself to Christ, you're a Christian. But then they are getting your kings to sign that they are now slaves. Please help me here. Are you seeing that this is deception? This is pure deception that's going on here. When you are getting our kings to sign treaties that they will only trade with you, and they are, in fact, if they do not agree, they will be deposed, like they did with Ovobaren, like they did with Jaja of Okobo. So, and this is under the guise of their religion. So we need to understand, when we're talking about religion, that this is a deception. Christianity is about deception. Islam was the use of force. In both cases, they are not good and did not allow Africans to freely choose who we are. And that is very important for us to understand. So let me read on a bit more. I'll crack on for a little bit more to explain what I'm saying here. So now, Boxer went back at least half a century. So they have been planning this for at least half a century. So to the Sierra Leone company at the time of anti-slavery activities had little access to higher reaches of the British government and were relying on public meetings and public agitation. Boxer was exceptional in an exceptional position. So they all planned this. At that meeting, up to 4,000 attended the meeting, with Sir Robert Peel spoke from the stage. Prince Albert, the Queen's consort to Queen Victoria, was the president of the society, and the proceedings were written by Joseph Beda. So you can see now, under the guise of religion was just a front, and it remains a front. They're not interested in what you believe in. They're interested in controlling your mind, controlling your land. Once they get you and you stop worshiping your gods, they can no longer if they don't break you from your gods, they can't control your land. They can't control your mind. They can't control your land. They can't control what you eat. They have to do that. These are what we need to understand. So when you are fighting yourself, Christianity is better, Islam is better, they both had the same aims, the same motives, controlling you. That's the plain fact. And I'm laying the evidence before you right here. Okay, so let's go forward. 1 second. Let me just sip a bit of water. 1 second. I'm a bit thirsty. Okay, I hope you're enjoying this. Please do follow, share, and help us, grow this platform. We are here to share information. Again, like I said, every African, I need you to understand that you possess the solutions to your problem. And we need to be telling this to our people in our communities across the whole of the African continent right now. They don't need to look outward. You don't need to look to Allah or to Muhammad, or to Jesus Christ or to God. You have the solutions within your community. And this is what we are trying to do here. We need to look beyond these books, which is taking the minds of our people. They need to come out of those books and reconnect with their ancestors, and they can solve their own problems like that. Okay, let's go forward. Now let me just see. The whip of the government at the time irritated them, lobbying. Finances were sorry, let me just see. I'm going to skim through quickly. I want to read a particular area for you that makes sense. So now they call it. Listen to the words they use here. Oh gosh, sorry. I'm gonna have to do this, please. Let me 1 second. Let me just do this. I can't take the call now because I don't want to talk right now because I don't want to break the flow of what I'm doing. I'll call my friend later on, a very good friend of mine. Let's see. 1 second. Give me a second, please. Let me just quickly answer this one. Excuse me for 1 second. Let me just quickly answer that. On the live broadcast, we'll call you back. We'll call later. Okay, so that I keep him, I don't keep him, because I always like to, when somebody calls me, I always like to make it a point to make sure that I don't ignore, everybody is important. And that's the thing we need to begin to understand. On the African, how we view ourselves and our interactions are very important. Our ancestors, they were not jealous gods. That is innately in us. That is something that is in each and every one of us. They were not jealous gods. They allowed other gods to do their thing as long as they were allowed to do their own thing. They didn't interfere, and that is something that is, I will need you to know as an African. It's a trait that is in you. You may not know it, but I'm telling you today to recognize that trait, that you are very, very accommodating because it is in your ancestors and that has been passed down into your own genes still as we speak now. Others know that and they are prepared to take advantage of it. But now that we are aware, we can use it the other way around. We can flip the script and begin to use it to nurture our African societies and solve our problems. I hope that makes sense. Let's go a bit more into this. Now, so it says here, officially known as the African Colonization Expedition. Let me put those words there. Now, these are the same people that are saying that they are coming to, to give you Christianity. The words that they used. Please stop, fight Africans, just know this fact. The words that they used, they said, officially, the expedition of 1841 is officially known as the African Colonization Expedition. And in the same breath, they said, I kid you not, we need to wake up. I'm laughing because it's painful. It is painful. But it says here, the British government backed efforts to make treaties with native people, introduce Christianity, and promote increased trade. So they want to introduce Christianity and promote increased trade. But officially, they knew that what they were really doing was colonization. You see what I mean? Is what I'm saying making sense? Do you understand now that this is about control? They took forcible control of the land and the people. They brought 3 ships, including Prince HMS Albert, HMS whatever. There's 3 of them. I'll mention them. So now, so let me just go back there. So yeah, so it was opposed by Robert Jameson and Social Planning Don Royal. They both had medical ventilation based on David Boswell. So three vessels. They were not really vessels. They are warships. They came with warships. The 3 ships were Albert, steamers, they called them, but they were warships because they had guns on them. Albert, Wilberforce, and Sudan. Right, okay. So now, on the expedition, they achieved treaties. Now, they said treaties against slave trade. So, the minute they got a king to sign a treaty, that king was instantly a vassal king. But they don't tell you that. Every king of Obarem of Benin refused to sign. He was deposed. Jaja of Okobo was of Okobo refused to sign. He was exiled to the Caribbeans. Ashantewa of Ghana refused to sign. She was exiled to the Seychelles. You see what I'm saying? There's a pattern here. And we need to understand. And these are the same people telling you that they came to give you Christianity. And in their own official records, they're saying the colonization of Africa. That was the African colonization expedition, is what it's called. But here we are in 2024. We are fighting each other on the African continent over Christianity and Islam, both of which are intent and are still controlling our minds still as we speak. We're not free. We're not free as Africans. And I state that clearly. But I know now, what I'm here to tell you is that we need to open our minds, connect to our escape route is our African ancestors. Our African ancestors are not jealous gods. They were accommodating. But the gods that this Christianity and Islam are talking about, they are jealous gods. They need your mind because they do not want you to be able to say, no, I want to grow my corn, I want to grow my millet as my ancestors. They are controlling what you eat right now through the religion of Islam and Christianity. Tell me if I'm lying. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. They control your trade. I'll come and talk about that later on a bit more. So now, I think, you know what? I'm going to leave it at this one here. Now let's go back into the picture, the Carve Up of Africa. So let's go back in there. It was important that we explain that part because I'm hoping that by doing this, when you are an African, that you will think very carefully before supporting Christianity against Islam or vice versa. Both of them have an ulterior motive. Take control of your mind, thereby taking control of your land. And you will see it as I'm talking about it, as I'm saying now. So, if you look at the land now, on that map, if you look at the Portuguese were in control for a time in that area. And I think Liberia, that was Liberia. There was Liberia there that was, that's the former slaves from America was taken to Liberia. They didn't. Interesting how they did not touch that bit. What was agreed in the Berlin Conference that did not touch the Liberia till today? So, and the US, of course, was at that place. So they, and they carved it up. But these are things that many are not even thinking about. So let us go into it. Now, you can see the French there. The blue areas are the areas controlled by the French. And of course, the yellow areas is controlled by the English, UK. The green is by the Portuguese, but that was ultimately taken over by UK and I think I think the French. The French ultimately took that over, I think. And I can't remember. Yeah. So anyway, so you can see large areas of Africa having the colonial blueprint. Those areas now, they no longer reflected the Kingdom of Songhai, or your empire, Benin Empire, Mali Empire, the Dogon Empire, or Nok Empire, all of our African empires, they scrubbed them out. Because at the wall of the Benin, under Otto von Bismarck in 1884, September 1884, they carved up Africa. Yeah. Sorry, is the only way. SK, look, I'm not arguing about it. I'm telling you what was done. I'm giving you evidence. Islam in Africa is about controlling African mind. When you control the mind, you control the land. Take it or leave it. It is, and the same thing with Christianity. So you can, I'm not going to argue with you. If that's what you want to do, all I'm just saying is if we want to build Africa that is truly free, our minds have to be free of the religion versus Islam and Christianity. I've given you evidence. The people who are telling you about Christianity see your land as a land they're going to colonize. Islam says you must only have their God. Our African gods believe in having, you can have, let me read it to you, exact words, in case you're wondering. Let me read how our ancestors, this is why I'm comfortable in saying what I'm saying. I don't have to be, I don't need to. So, traditional African religions are tolerant. In fact, I'm going to take the word religion. Traditional African spirituality, because we're not religion. We don't do religion. It's spirituality. It's connected to the soil. It's connected to the earth. It's connected to the cycle of the moon. That is African spirituality. These religions that you're talking about, they don't have any connection with the earth and all of that. No, they are only focused on their goal, devoid of the connection, the natural connection, the rhythm of the moon, the rhythm of the earth. They violate spaces deliberately. These are what these religions are about. So I'm just explaining to you that African gods, they accommodate, our African deities accommodate other gods. They're not jealous gods. They believe in live and let live. And that is something that we as Africans must understand. So when you're fighting for Islam and you're fighting for Christianity, it's because your ancestors have said, no, we're not going to put them away. They can exist alongside us. Your ancestors have given you that in your DNA. Now, when you start fighting for one and believe in you need to understand that their goal was to take over your land. And I'm showing you on the screen. So let's go ahead. Now, so you can now see now that in Africa, I want to say this, we had trading routes. We had African trading routes. And those trade routes went across into the entire Africa. So we were trading in gold, in beads, in all kind of things. Africa was, Christianity, Islam should add a bit of it. For us Africans should be like an agreement, one used to add a bit of. Yeah, of course. But the problem is yes, I understand that Casquel Swabi, but we know that, look at us, as I speak to you now, one of the things that Islam and Christianity, under the guise of Christianity, look at the African continent. Africans cannot move freely across Africa. And like I told you, in the days of our ancestors, we were able to move freely. They had something called trade by barter. We were trading by barter. You had a bit of gold, I had a bit of copper, we exchanged. We are traders. Africa is known for trading. Okay, let me just do that again. Africa is well known for trade. In my own family, we have several people in my family and in my grandpa's side that were trading. And my aunt, may I so rest in peace, was a trader. So this is something in our family, and I need us to understand that it is not something new. But what the problem is right now, under the guise of this region of Islam and Christianity, you cannot trade freely across Africa as Africans. You cannot trade among yourselves. You cannot trade among yourselves. Let me read to you 7 points why I'm saying what I'm saying. 7 points. Number one, religion of colonials imposed by colonials. So, Islam and Christianity are forms of colonialism. Like, believe it or not. They were used as tools of colonization, both by Arabs and by Europeans. Plain fact. And that is what is happening. And those religions are still dominating Africa till date. And Africa is suffering because our people believe more in the religion than in their own humanity and their own African spirituality as told by their ancestors that are accommodating of other gods. The religions of Islam and Christianity do not allow any other god. They only want theirs. And once they get that, they tell you what to think. They don't want you to think. The religions of Islam don't want you to think for yourself. The religions of Christianity do not want you to think for yourself. They want you to follow what is in the book to the letter. Both of them. Our ancestors. Ifa, for example. You will ask Ifa, I want to go and do this. What do you think? Ifa will come back and give an answer. You can go back again and speak to the Ifa man, and he will draw the opele. And what if I do this one? They would ask. Okay, maybe you shouldn't do this because X, Y, and Z. You are having a conversation. In Christianity and Islam, you can't have a conversation. They are telling you and they are referring to you quotes in the book. This is what we have to understand. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm telling you the facts of the religion. And for as long as the danger is that as Africans, we are going to spend all of our time arguing about religion of Christianity and Islam among ourselves and read the Quran and read the verse and not do what we need to do, which is to free Africa and provide a bright future for the coming generation. The only way we can achieve that is through our African spirituality. Reconnect to our ancestors. Of course, there are bits of Christianity that you can find and use. Of course, there are bits of Islam, but it will be on our terms. It's like going to trade. It's like going to trade with right now. People are afraid. Burkina Faso, Niger, they are getting close to Russia. They are very clear what their aims are. They are getting close to China. They have a clear memorandum of understanding. They are going to pick what they want to use. That is what we must do. The problem is when you are talking about Christianity and Islam, you are talking about it to the exclusion of what is part of you, which is your African spirituality, and your accommodating of other religions. You will never succeed. You will never succeed. That is why I'm saying what I'm saying. We need to really think about what we're saying here as Africans. And if we are going to build Africa, it will require us to be very clear. I'm saying it freely. There are some things you can take from Christianity, and there are some things you can take from Islam that you can use and say, okay, this won't work, and fine-tune it to be part of our African spirituality. But it must not replace our African spirituality. And that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making here. Okay, so I've talked about one, religions of Islam imposed by colonials. So you can see now that already, once a religion is imposed on you, it affects your mind. It breaks the connection between your ancestors. I just told you now. The days of the week I didn't know. I'm close to 60 now. And I did not know about the 4 days of the week of my own ancestors until 2-3 weeks ago. According to that calendar. And it follows the cycle of the moon. 28 days in a month, 13 months in a year. That is part of who I am. To whose benefit is it that I don't know that? Is it for my benefit or for those who impose the religion? Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself that question. If it's part of who you are and what your ancestors did, shouldn't you know? Shouldn't you know? So at least if you know, you now know, okay, that's part of me. Okay, and find out about it. Oh, it's actually beneficial. Okay, maybe I can put some Christianity and some Islam to make this and stay true to my African spirituality. Nothing wrong with that. Because our gods are not jealous gods. They tolerate and accept others. These religions, they tell you it's their only way or no way. Take it or leave it. You got the evidence there. Now, let's go ahead again. So, they imposed European economy on Africa under the guise of trade. I told you. So, they said they were going to trade. Firstly, they said, oh, we are bringing Christianity. Then, under the guise of Christianity, they got our kings to sign treaties that made our kings vassals in their own land, slave kings. So that meant that those kings now would trade in the areas that only what those colonials brought or Islam brought. Straight away, they have changed our social communities. Straight away, they have changed it. Because now it's no longer about practicing a religion. It's about changing the life of the entire community by force or by deception. Take it or leave it. That's the reality of it. Please just understand what I'm saying. You need to, because many of us follow these religions and the books. Look, when somebody's giving you a book freely, look, go and look at that book. Go and look at that book. And they're hiding things from you. I think you need to understand, why are they hiding these things from me? That is what don't look at what they're putting in your face. Find out what is behind why they are putting that in your face. What are they trying to hide? It applies to Christianity and Islam. Plain fact. It applies to both. So now, because now those kings, you were either a vassal or you were deposed. And that means now that they will now tell people, you cannot trade anymore. You cannot worship those gods anymore. You must worship this God. And that controls the people. Now that controls what they were going to sell. So in a community now, they might be living on millet. They say, no, you can't grow millet. You have to grow corn. Because of that religion, they give them the power. They now say, no, what we tell you, you will do. It's about control. It's always about control. And I hope we understand that as Africans. Because I think we need to have this discussion among ourselves. And this is why I'm doing programs like this. It's not about hate. It's understanding. We don't know who we are. Thank you very much, my brother. We don't know who we are. And until we know who we are, I am telling you, we are going to keep going round and round in circles, and we'll keep putting ourselves. Every time you open that book, it's like taking hallucinogenic to get your brain to be reset, to agree and accept what is not acceptable to you, to your ancestors, to accept this falsehood. And that's why they keep saying, go and look at this chapter in the Quran. Go and look at that chapter in the Bible. It says this. So because it says that, you have to believe in us. Trust in that. But we have trust in our own ancestors. What is wrong? So if I'm looking to my ancestors, and it is part of who I am, it is in every single Yoruba idile, we have our oriki. We have certain things that we need to say to connect to. That connects to our ancestors. But many of us don't remember that. And it is part of who we are. And then to just say, no, forget that. Just focus. There is no connection between you as an African and Christianity, the colonial Christianity. There is no connection between you as an African and the Islamic Christianity, Arabic Islam. None. But there is connection between you and your ancestors in your name, in the food, in the clothes, in the deities that you worship. There's direct connection. It's even connected to the cycle of the moon. The calendar of the Christianity throws you off your center. It throws you off. It makes you not know what is going on, because our calendar was tied to our seasons, tied to the moon cycle. You could see what was going. You could predict the future, because this is what our ancestors taught us as Africans. I'm saying all of this, so that we can wake up. We have to wake. If we're going to fix Africa, this is where it starts. And I'm telling you, every single African on the African continent, we have to make them believe in themselves that they have the solution to the problems on the African continent right now. Not outside, not in any Bible, not in any Quran. As I speak to you in the UK, nobody, the number of people going to the church who are Europeans is less than 500,000 in a nation of 60 million in the UK. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. That's the reality of it. Religion is not a big deal. And the more we put it in the minds, the more it destroys us. Oh, bro, sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me call him back. Let me call him back. Hey, bro, I'm sorry. I'm on a live broadcast right now. Oh. Yeah, bro, I'm on a live broadcast. My Benu. Can I call you back later? Or do you want to join? Hello? Can you hear me? Yes, I'm on a live. I can hear you. I'm on a live broadcast right now where I'm doing a lecture on terms of the Carve Up of Africa, and so I won't be able to chat a lot. But I will call you later on. Yeah? Do you mind, my brother? Please.
I might even join your program just to see what you're talking I
John.
wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Cat is talking a lot of. Anyway, I'll talk to you later since
Okay.
you're on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks
All
so
right.
much. I'll call you. Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. So yeah. So sorry about that. I just had to. I get people calling and yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, we have to make sure we understand who we are. These religions are, how can I put it? That's another person that's really championing a lot of African things and how we can have a better continent. So he's a colleague in the struggle for Africa, Nigeria, and Africa wide. So that's why I took the call, because I know this is an area of interest for him. Whites don't. Thank you very much. Yes, Eric Okong. Whites don't. That's the point of it. That is exactly the point. So, but most of we blacks go to church. Exactly. That's exactly the thing. In the UK, I mean, less than 500,000 go to anything to do with church in the UK. But they have growth, they have water, they have light, they have schools, they have bridges, they have healthcare, they have safety, they have security. They don't have to go and pray to any god somewhere. They don't have to think, oh, if I do this, my God will bless me and my family and we'll be okay. No, they are okay because it's the job of the government to make sure the people are okay. And the danger with these religions is that they distract the people from actually holding their government to account. That is the problem here. In the African continent, the people are so religious that they ignore the government that has responsibilities to the people that they are supposed to be serving. Yeah. And the blatancy of it is Africans accept their while they hate and despise. Exactly. So these are really fundamental issues that we're looking at as Africans. If we are going to solve our societal problems, we need to have this unequivocal belief in our African self. And that means embracing our African spirituality. What you perceive in the spiritual realm manifests in the physical. What you perceive in the spiritual realm manifests in the physical. The religions of Islam and Christianity break your spiritual connection with who you are. And by so doing, you are in their world, whilst the things that you need to be functioning, i.e. good roads, water, light, school, bridges, you totally ignore it. You even forget your government because of one religion or the other. And your communities and your people and yourself suffer. So much so that many of you end up dying. Myself, I've got friends who've watched their girlfriends die in the Mediterranean Sea because of us not understanding that these religions, for us as Africans, they are actually very detrimental to our very existence. Take it or leave it. I'm not saying it as hate. On the African continent, I am yet to see any European in Europe pray for water. Prove me wrong. I am yet to see any European pray for good roads. Go and have a prayer session. 3-hour prayer session. God send it, make it possible for our governors to fix our roads. It doesn't happen. Or for our representatives to fix our roads. I'm yet to see any prayer for good hospital. They tell them we need hospital in this area, and it is done. No prayer is involved. They don't go to any church. It is occupying your mind. It is occupying your mind. Wake up. The object of this is to know. And some people who are Christians here, they know. They now practice their religion within themselves. They will read sometimes, but they don't go to church because they know that what is important is how they do things, their community. And the danger of these religions is what it does to you. It makes you believe that you have a community in that religion. So you have the Christian community, you have the Muslim community, but none of them ever meets in the middle to fix the problems they both face. Quote me wrong. Okay, so now, So you can now see that trade is another way. As Africans, since they broke the African trade routes that we had across Africa, very strong trade route, we now trade. Our trade goes only one way, out of Africa. Because we are in those of you who are in on the YouTube, you will see this. Because we are in the open camp, these lines are open. They are open slave camps. Those lines means that in that slave camp, you cannot come out of it without getting papers to go to the next place. As an African, you cannot go from say I'm going to Nigeria. I want to go to Egypt. You have to fill papers. You have to get, I want to go and trade. Oh, no, you have to go and get papers. Get this one. And they pay that. And they put this in a way to make it difficult for Africans to trade among ourselves. But in Europe, you don't need any document to travel from one part of Europe to the other. You don't need any only one card on you. You show it, you go through. And yet you are still talking about Christianity and Islam. But your movement, your free movement across your continent, they've stopped. Yes. I suggest we spend more time discussing our customs and how they are interrelated. Thank you. Let me pin that one. Sticky Club. Let me pin that one. That's exactly the point of what I'm trying to do here. So, like I said, with our African trade, we need to strongly consider going back to trade by barter. Trade by barter was how Africa was really vibrant. People were trading in all manner of goods, spices, clothes, shoes, that gold, whatever you were selling, food stuff. That was our trade. So we would do trade by barter. But the introduction of currency, money, again, by the colonials, put a stop to it. You cannot trade if you don't have this money. And because you are in the open slave camps, they wouldn't let you do anything. Remember, they've taken powers away from our king. We are slave kings. So they now put controls in. Whoever they put in place was working for them, not for the people. You see how Africa till today is still in we are in an open slave camp. We're not free. Yes, exactly. Sticky. I like that. Yorubas and Igbo say the same culture. Ifa, Igbos call it Afa. There you go. You see, we need to look at similarities and what are the common things that we have. That's what we need to be looking at. That's what we need to be doing. So now we've talked about the trade. I mean, I could talk more about that. Maybe I will let me expand. The reason why I am talking about the trade. You see, trade, free trade, and you cannot separate free trade from free movement. Anytime that our movement is restricted in the African continent to move freely among Africa to trade among ourselves, it impacts our ability to trade, to be able to survive in our own land. They are controlling our survival. They are controlling our ability to eat. They are controlling even what we plant. And by doing so, they now control. If you notice on the African continent, they have in Europe, up until recently, they had something called the Common Agricultural Policy, CAP, CAP. In that Common Agricultural Policy, farmers in Europe were getting subsidies. I kid you not. They were getting subsidies to grow stuff in Europe. But the same EU and those who imposed the African government on us, they were telling African government, do not give subsidies to any farmer. Go check it. IMF, you are going to get a loan, but you mustn't give subsidies to your farmer to grow. World Bank, yes, you are going to get loan, but you must not support your farming. Wake up, and yet you are talking about Christianity and Islam, and the people who are imposing this on you are making your life difficult. When are you going to connect this? When are we going to connect all of this? When? There is no problem we can't solve. There is zero problem we can't solve as Africans. It's only our ability to visualize and see what has been done. To solve this problem, we don't need Europeans. We don't need Chinese. We need ourselves. Let us start trading. 82% of the trade in our resources in Africa goes out of Africa. 82%. 18% of barely 18% happens among Africans. Barely. Africa cannot be free under those conditions. Yes, Africa cannot be free under this condition. And we need to understand that the common thread in this is the deliberate, these religions, remember I said, up until the colonials, certain areas did not actually have Islam in it. But the colonials introduced it in the areas that they were carving up to create division. Fact. I mean, and here you are arguing about this religion, but when it's a tool to control your mind. Yes, Egosa, thank you. Thank you, my brother. So, the program here is to wake us up. Now, let me move forward. I'll stop on trade. So you get the picture now. Our ability to move freely in our continent and our trading among ourselves are very important. And those, what you call states, they are not states. They are open slave camps. Those lines prevent that interaction, which actually impoverishes us in our own land. Fact. That is indisputable. That is totally indisputable by anybody. Okay, now, they imposed the colonial language. So, you will see, those of you, you may not see this on TikTok, but those of you who are on YouTube, you will see me go into this area. I'm going to go just to Benin Republic, for example. So you have Benin Republic on one side, and then you have Nigeria, and then you have another French-speaking country on the other side. All of which was done. So you're speaking English, French, English, French, to create that division. And they targeted the most populous areas so that there was no ability for us to be cohesive. And they imposed English on us. We have our own languages. Why are we speaking foreign language in our own continent? Why? Before, when we traded across the whole of Africa, we had ways we were interacting. Why can't that be in place? It's about, again, controlling your mind. It's all about control. When you break this down, this is all about control. And the control is still in existence till today. If Africa is to be free, we free our minds. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of it can stop other time. How long must they kill our prophets? Our wives be stand aside and look, whoa. Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Or won't you help to sing this song of freedom? Is all I ever hear. Oh yeah, redemption song. Redemption song. We need to emancipate ourselves. Nobody else can do it for us. This discussion must be had among us as Africans on a regular basis. How do we achieve our freedom? It is not using another man's language on our soil. It won't work. It creates division, and it impoverishes those who cannot speak it. And those who can speak it are now placed in an illusion, believing that they're doing good to oppress their own people. Hello, wake up. That's why that song is very important. Rest in peace, Bob Marley. I will always sing that song because it cuts through everything. Everything. We need to do better in Africa. We need to do better. We must do better. Please share this broadcast and let us ask ourselves these fundamental questions. For me, I always say, money is an illusion. Yes, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's important because that's what's been created. But before money, our ancestors had trade by barter, and it worked just as well. And we need to make sure that we are going to determine what resources move to where, how we move fully across Africa, and what kind of currency we are going to use. Even our currency is not even controlled by us. And you say you are free in African continent. You believe that? But you are here fighting about Christianity and Islam. I don't understand. These are, another man knowledge of religion. How can the first man around before his? I don't understand. Okay, yeah, well, okay, I'm not. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Yes, but we need to really understand who we are. You see, everything that you see now, the currency, the religion, the currency, the food and everything, elevates colonial stuff into superior things and puts down our own African things as nothing. That's again psychologically to make you feel you have to submit yourself to something that is oppressing you in your land. Mind control. This is about mind control. It's about mind control. Okay, so our language is so important. I've got a book here. I hope I can. Is it here? Oh, I moved it in. I didn't see. I've taken it. No, it's here. I've taken it. This brilliant man. I hope you can still see it. I hope people are still seeing it. Yeah, this man here, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. It says Decolonizing the Mind. Please get that book. Get that book. Please get it. He used to write a lot of books. He won awards in English, but he actually writes a lot of his stuff now in his local language because he realizes that when we're using a foreign language, it actually impacts our communities. We are slowly killing our communities. So get that book. You see that? Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Decolonizing the Mind. I hope you can see it. So those of you who are on YouTube as well, get that book. Let me read an excerpt to the end of it. Decolonizing the Mind. Ngugi describes this book as a summary of some of the issues in which I have been passionately involved for the last 20 years of my practice in fiction, theater, criticism, and in teaching of literature. The literature on which this book is based has given me the chance to put together in connected and coherent form the main issues on the language question in literature. Ngugi is now regarded by the younger generation as probably the most important contemporary writer from the African continent. He wrote his first novel and plays in English, Weep Not, Child, The River Between, A Grain of Wheat, Petals of Blood, together with plays such as The Black Hermit and The Trial of Dedan. Kimati have added luster to the great English tradition. However, even before his detention without trial in Kenya in 1978, he was determined to write in Gikuyu so that ordinary people could understand his work. The novel, which he later translated in English as The Devil on the Cross, became popular success with people reading it aloud in bars. The original Gikuyu edition of the play, I Will Marry When I Want, emerged from his work with Ngugi at Wamini at the Kimaru 2 Community Center, which was destroyed by the Askaris in March 1982. So you can get some inkling. You see, when you use your language in your own community, you are nurturing that community. When you use a foreign language in your own community, you are killing your community because it is part and parcel of what you are. It is your identity. It's rooted. It keeps your community, it keeps your culture going. You know, the spirituality is part of all of this. We need to embrace who we are. The Europeans embrace Christianity because that's what they've taught, they've learned about it. It's part of the Bible. They mention different things, Augustus, Apollo, all of this. They put it in the Bible. They remember it, Ishtar, and all of that. But why must we throw away our own gods who are not jealous gods? We should be remembering them. We should be, you know, and the way that we are so accommodating comes from our ancestors. Because they're not jealous gods. That's in our genes as Africans. Okay, so let me see. Now they imposed Western food on Africans. I've said that before. I'm not going to read too much into that. They've Western food, so potatoes and all of that. There's nothing wrong with eating potatoes, but when you are telling me no, put that away, we want you to grow this, that impacts the society. The society that is now growing it. That's not what they're eating. You will control the price of what they are now eating. The price, you will change the diet of the entire society. And that is, who's benefited? And this is, you are seeing evidence of that in the kind of medicines that we are now told to be taking. This has severe ramifications. I think we need to sit down as Africans and think in our spaces. Please join me on the Africa Zoom 54. If you are interested, leave me your name, your number, and your nation in the comment section or in the inbox on either YouTube in the comment section on YouTube and in the message in TikTok. Get in touch. We need to. This is deeper. What I'm telling you now, I think by me explaining this, you will know that these religions, they are clearly deceptions. And if we allow it to remain on the African continent, 2,000 years from now, Africa will remain impoverished, even though we have everything and more that we need in Africa. And these are realities that we must really take cognizance of collectively. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm speaking in English now. I have another platform where I speak exclusively Yoruba among my people. And you will hear me say that as often as possible. I am a proud Yoruba man. I love my culture. I love my Eba. I love my Inyo. I love my Egusi. I love all of those things. I love the way we dance. I love the music. I love the rhythm. I love the spirituality. I love the days of the week. Or Batala, Orumila Ifa, Ogun, Shango Jakuta. These are, when I speak in my language, I come alive. It's part of who I am. And I'm okay with that. I did not know many of those things before. I'm hoping that many who are coming behind us will have this information freely so they can identify who they are at an early age. The religions of Islam and Christianity, once I strongly suggest as Africans, we should really reconsider if we are going to be sending our children to these places, these churches and the mosques, because their minds are being altered radically to turn against themselves, to see everything African as negative. And that's not good. That's not good. So you frown at the food, you frown at everything, but these religions, you have to understand that they facilitate the extraction of resources from Africa. That's the reality of it. I know people will not like me saying this, but that's the reality. They are the foundation that makes it possible for 82% of mineral resources from Africa to go directly out of Africa and cut out any benefit whatsoever to Africans on the African continent. That's what these religions are doing. But unless we begin to connect those dots together in our communities, on the African spaces, in our local languages, I deliberately talked about Yoruba because I want this to happen, this discussion to be happening in our local languages as well, to engage our people on ground so they know what we're talking about. Because the change that we want is not going to happen outside of Africa. It's going to happen within Africa. Like you're seeing in the Alliance of Sahel states. It's going to happen within Africa. And we need to have engaging discussions in our local languages. I welcome as many languages as possible. And that is it. They were busy looting our resources. Exactly. This is the thing. So when you are praying, I'm religious, God will bless me. It's what God? That God doesn't know you. Your ancestors know you. Your ancestors are accommodating. That's why you are accommodating. You think you being accommodating of other religions is from you alone. No. It is what your ancestors, it's the gift your ancestors gave you. pure and simple. So there is work to do. So let me just move on to the next one. Now, they imposed Western and Arabic education on Africa. I read you the book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. When I think about this, I actually get very sad. I actually get emotionally pained when I think what they've taken away from my generation. And that is perhaps why I'm speaking now, because I don't want that to be taken away from the coming generation again. We have got to fix this. It's on us now as Africans. Wherever we are on the planet, if your concern is how to see a better Africa, then you must make it your business how we are going to ensure that the imposition of Western and Arabic education on Africa it becomes a thing of the past quickly. Because what we are taught in these religions and in this education books that in the African continent is about, again, just like the trade, it takes your mind out of Africa. Your mind is not in Africa, trying to see how we can improve Africa. You are looking at things outside. My Fair Lady, this book, that one, and all of that. At a young age. There's nothing wrong in reading and studying other cultures when you are 16, 17, 18, or maybe even 20. I would even say 20 because of the damage done. As Africans, we need to be building structures that would allow us as Africans to know about ourselves, Yeah, of course. I mean, look, there are some people who are corrupt. I understand that. But I'm saying this is not about blame, but we need to put structures in place. So again, I'm going to mention it. Africa Zoom 54 is something I'm very passionate about. We're going to have a meeting again next week. I think probably next Wednesday. If not, it might not be Thursday. It'll be Thursday. It might not be Wednesday. It'll be Thursday, but it'll be 3 p.m. again. I think, where we're going to have discussions among ourselves. We need to meet up and actually have discussions and get to know each other. These barriers, these lines across those places, we are effectively strangers to each other on African continent, and we are living in the same continent. In Europe, they have something called Erasmus or Rasmussen, I think, where from a young age, kids from UK can go to France and study, or they can go to Spain, and kids from Spain can come to UK. They encourage interrelations, from an early age. That is to keep the bond, to know what is happening across the whole of the European continent. Rightly so. In Africa, a kid in Nigeria doesn't have a clue what is happening in Congo. Doesn't even know what Congo is. That's because of those lines that you see. They are, I often believe that they are cut across spiritual and numeric lines. There's numbers in all that's been said here, the way they've been done, and the numbers that they put together, even down to your phone codes and all of that stuff. I mean, but that's another discussion for another time. But I'm just stating this as Africans. We need to make sure that everything that is on the African continent, we are in control of. And right now, we are in open slave camps. The only place that I would say, the only places that are now becoming free of those places are the following countries: Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They are the alliance of Sahel states. They have the African mindset now of all for one and one for all. They are going to be looking at getting their own currencies together, trading among themselves, putting the Africans and the people first. And the people are supporting them. Do you see videos and pictures? I saw a video which I posted of a stadium. People was packed full of people supporting Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. He's coming back in the great. He's coming back in the. I believe he's the reincarnation of Thomas Sankara, our great ancestor. I believe so. Family, the manner in which he's doing things, and now the vision. He's now added some steeliness. He's added some steeliness. Same with Assem Goita, same with General Chia. And we need to look at this as people that we need to have more of across the whole of Africa. because the other leaders that we have now in other areas are frankly puppets put in place by the colonials. They are not in control. They simply are not in control in those areas. They are just figureheads. And that is what we need to be looking at. So the Western education, I mean, when I was growing up, I was told to speak Yoruba language in school was vernacular, and you would have to pay money into a box for speaking your language in your own country. And unfortunately now, it is still happening. They say don't speak vernacular. How dare you tell me that my language in my land, in Yoruba land, is vernacular? You don't have that right. It's about the mindset that we're putting in it. But then the same people who are accepting that will say, "Oh, Jesus Christ is the way. Allah is the way." But yes, they are telling you in your own land you cannot speak your language, and you are backing such nonsense and talking about, "Oh, it's that one is the only way." Nothing. We have to do better. We really have to do better as Africans, and it's time for us to really begin to work together on issues. Please, again, I'm talking about it. Africa Zoom 54. If you're interested, join us. We do it every Wednesday, but this week is going to be a Thursday, 3 p.m. I think it's 3 p.m. I'll send the links out. We got a number of people who have joined us already, and we want to grow. We want every part of Africa. Let us meet up. Let us get to know and feel what it's like to be living in those open slave camps that we're currently in. Because the more we know about it, it is going to motivate us to make sure that we no longer have any open slave camps on the African continent. Because that's what we have. They are open slave camps. They are not countries. They are resource extraction points. That's it. When 82% of the resources of the trade that goes out is about our resources going straight out of Africa, then that means that we are not nations. We are resource extraction points. And it's important. And all the while you are talking about Jesus Christ and all of that stuff and talk about Allah. Meanwhile, your resources are going out. There's no infrastructure in your community. Because those religions are occupying your mind to not see what the trade that they're doing, sucking your resources out, is doing to your community and forcing you out of your own of your continent. We are all affected, myself included. These are the things that I like to talk about to raise awareness in our communities. We are rich, diverse people. We can look, if Africa gets free trade, free movement, I mean, just imagine how we are vibrant people. I can just picture it. Where we have no foreign power would be dominating or controlling what we do on our continent. We'll be in control. Our communities, our children will reach their true potentials. We will not be relying on any Allah or any Jesus Christ from anywhere. Our ancestors will be the guide for us. And then we can borrow from those things. Oh, okay, we can see there's a little benefit in what they said in that thing about Christianity. We can take that, inculcate it into African spirituality. In Africa, on the African continent, at the foundation must be African spirituality. No debate. Because in Arab land, their foundation is Islam. In Europe, their foundation is their Christianity. So our African spirituality that allows and accommodates other gods must be the core, because it allows for other things, but in there we'll make sure it builds in to make sure that anything that's threatening our foundation is not tolerated on the African continent. And I say that unequivocally. That's what we need to be doing. That's what we must do. So I talked about education. So you can see it's very important. And on the education, you see the thing about education, when you are speaking foreign language of other people in your land, it is a shame. Somebody told me something that my great Pa Ajala said, and I'm quoting him now. He said, "It is a shame to see African leaders speaking either English or French at the United Nations." Think about that. you are an African. And to be able to speak for your people at the United Nations, you go there and you speak French. Do you realize that when you speak French, you are confirming that you are still a slave camp of the French in Africa? When you speak English, you are demonstrating that you are still a slave camp to the UK. When you speak your language, when you speak your own African language and they find an interpreter to interpret to the others, you are representing the people of that nation in Africa. Can you see the difference? Can you see the difference? Many African countries, 54 of them, they don't speak in their own local language. It's only said among us and it's controlled and it's separated. These are foundational things that we need to address. But yet, oh, Jesus Christ is great. Allah is great. But Allah and Jesus Christ do not see how they are reducing your culture, your language, into non-entity on the world stage. So of what use is that Jesus Christ and Allah to you when this is happening? I'm just asking fundamental questions here. These are fundamental questions that we must be asking ourselves, you know? We must be asking ourselves these questions. We must be asking those questions and begin to question ourselves. Our leaders must. In Yoruba, in Nigeria, for example, because we are Nigerian, what I would say is that whoever is the president speaks in his local language at the UN, and they translate it to English. If it's an Igbo man that's president at the time, he speaks in Igbo. It's translated to English and French and so on and so forth. If it's an Hausa man, he speaks in Hausa. And let me speak to the vernacular issue in English language in England that was happening in Nigeria. In French speaking, they also imposed. They didn't like you speaking your local language. They made you speak the colonial language. And in Sudan, a woman told me when she was young, she was forced to speak Arabic first. And now they're still forcing them to speak Arabic. And Arabic, of course, is not African. It is from Arab land. In the name, the clue is in the name. So when we are talking about, oh, Christianity is this, Islam is that, it's great, it's all of that. Christianity and Islam is standing there quietly whilst this oppression is going on openly on all of us on the African continent. You know? Exactly. Over 4,000 grandparents and ancestors we don't know to tell our grandchildren about under slavery. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, look, this is deep. You can see now, that's why I said the carve up of Africa. We are carved up. We are still carved up. We're still carved up. And that's the plain reality of it. It's not about hate. It's stating what is currently on ground. And we need to look at it. And how are we going to address this collectively? And again, please, if you do not know your local language, please engage in it. Let your kids know a word here and there. Let them, the more, and the reason, over time, there will be things that we need to do that will require us to have. I would love to be able to have discussions. Again, that's why I said the Africans in 54. I want to learn what they will say in Gambia, in Kikuyu, what they will say in Zulu, how do you say hello, how do you say goodbye, in your language, so that we can interact as Africans on that basis. Currently, the spaces that we're in, you can see that those spaces are influenced by the colonials. Your land that you call, that was called Senegal, is in blue because it's the French, and then because it's blue, that it signifies that you are part of France and you are speaking French to confirm that, and you are eating food from France and you are trading. If you do not, the France will not allow you to trade other than to themselves. That is controlling who you are. All of this is happening, and you are talking to me about Christianity and Islam. And Islam and Christianity don't interfere in that. Instead, they allow it to continue. So you can tell you now those religions are controlling you. The object of what we're doing is just to make us to think, to see what is going on. Because we have really been we have scholars in religion. We have brilliant scholars across the African continent in religion. Brilliant scholars. Some pastors will know the Bible from beginning to end. The parables, the verses, the sayings, they will know it from beginning to the end. But go and look in their communities. No infrastructure. So please tell me, of what use is that religion of yours when you are not benefiting your own community? And please don't tell me that Christianity in your community is your community. It's just a division again. We are talking about the entire community. Do you have a road from one community to the next in the entire community that's functioning? Can you answer that truthfully? If you're going to talk about religion, what benefit? And the fire from the torch is saying that oil that keeps him burning is poor. Thank you. Yeah. Exactly. So look, you see, I'm still on topic. I'm talking to you about Arabic education. So you can see, when we have a lot of scientists, a lot of doctors, a lot of all brilliant people, but they are not impacting their society. Instead, they are being used, they are being sucked out like the resources. They are being, as now, if you go and look all over Europe, many African doctors are in Europe, in America, in Canada. Many nurses, but there are people. The doctors, at one point, we had a doctor for every 6,000 or 7,000 people. There was only one doctor in Africa. Now I think it might be even 10,000 or 20,000. All the doctors are going out. Can you see and then you're saying about Christianity and Islam. How is that impacting things? And this is what this education, we have to have an Africa-orientated educational system. That's what I'm saying. Right now, you can see from the evidence, those colors there. Once you see those colors, it tells you the focus of our education focuses on France in blue. The focus of our education in yellow focuses on English and the UK. The focus of those who are in red focuses on Arabic, not on the African interest, on the African continent. Our culture, our ways, our food, how we can, and make sure that we, in our own language, have doctors, lawyers, scientists, and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong in learning a foreign language when you are 16, 17, 18. But in all parts of Africa, your mother tongue must be spoken day and night from year 0 until you are 16. Then you can have choice of other foreign languages. So I'm not against learning foreign languages, but I'm telling you that having foreign languages from the age of 0, it's like you are taking the kids away. You're making them helpless within their own communities. Whatever they learn will not benefit their own communities. That's what we're faced with. And yet we're talking about Islam and Christianity being, how is it helping us when our communities have been hollowed out? Our people need to know education. Our education must be taught in our local languages. You can teach science in Yoruba language, in Igbo language. I've had a guy teach science in Yoruba. I've had an Igbo man teach science in Yoruba, chemistry, and all of that. That's what we need to do. But if you are busy telling me you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, and you are not addressing all of these fundamental issues that is hollowing out Africa, making sure that we never build a cohesive continent with infrastructures, then you are not really understanding what is going on. And you're not really understanding that we are in an open slave camp right now. We're not free. Please share this video. The idea is to make us as Africans think deeply. I will see if I can do this in Yoruba language. And I would like others to do the same in their own language, to talk about topics like this in your own language, so that we can begin to think in a way that is, really going to the heart of the matter for us as Africans on the African continent. We need to have spaces. The African continent has to be spaces that are focused on our African spirituality to allow us to grow. Because our African spirituality accommodates others. Right now, we need to accommodate, we make sure that those spaces now is more created to allow the growth of our African spirituality, because it has been painted in a negative light for so long. But it's got benefits, like I'm telling you, that is in our DNA, literally. So anyway, I'll move forward from the education. Yeah. They carved up African kingdoms and kept Africans in open prisons. I've talked about it. You heard me say it now. Every single nation, every single area, it's not nation, but they are open slave camps. And what is worse is that as an European, you can travel to any part of Africa and you will get visa at the point of entry. But if you are in Africa, you as an African, you cannot travel out from one part of Africa to the other without needing papers. You know? Free Palestine. I hope you will teach the languages to us in that. Yeah, I'm going to do Free Palestine. Yes, I mean, I like I said, I'm proud. I owe my language to my grandma. She was a wonderful Egba woman, and may her soul rest in peace. From the age of 4, she taught me how to speak Yoruba. And the Yoruba that I speak now, it's not perfect, but it is, as you know, I can get by. I get by comfortably, and I owe it to my grandma. So I speak in my language as often as I can, and you know, and I'm proud of that. And I know things. I know the names of foods. You know, ekpa, you know, ewuro, dodo, inyo, guguru, kuli, you know, wiripe, you know, all of the different names, all of those things. It invokes. You see, when you speak your language, you're opening channels. You're opening channels that you don't even see. And when you hear that back, that's frequency. We're talking frequency. So and those frequencies empowers your community. The stronger that language in that community, the stronger the tranquility and the peace. When you are speaking foreign language and you don't understand each other, and there's discord and there's poverty and all of that, it is causing, you know, those are divisions. You know, it is, you know, yeah. Yeah, okay, yes, okay. I mean, no. Please, don't get me wrong. In Africa, we need to have, in Africa, there are over, thousands of languages, and every one of them must exist. And what we did in the olden days is that we didn't all learn languages. Some people will be one side of Africa. And as you are moving to the other side, you could understand each other. And then when you go into the next one, then they could understand. So there was interaction in the languages as you are moving. The further in you move and where you moved. So everybody you don't have to speak one language, but you had a range of languages. Many Africans speak, you know, many different African languages among themselves and dialects as well. And that was how we did things. And we can use that. We don't need to have one official language. I don't believe in that. You know, I think we need to really, you know, use what we have. The rich culture in our language. Oh, just thinking about it alone, I drink that water when I think about. I'm hearing different languages from somebody and they're talking. I'm thinking, I wonder what they say. And when I hear something, and if I'm able to pick out something there, I'm like, okay, is that what you mean? Oh, great. It's, you know, I love our African languages. You know, and we need to get our people interested. When you hate about yourself because the religion says, oh, there's only one God, you're doing Islam, you have to do Arabic, you have to do English, you have to do French. All of that is so, you know, yeah, we need our tongue. We do. So that's why I'm talking about our spirituality. It comes from that. The language we speak comes from our ancestors, what they spoke all those years. And how that's community. I mean, I had somebody say something, Agbole means that a place, like a big compound. That was how we were doing a lot of big compound communities. And that was all of those. We had about 13 or so big compounds that formed the beginning of Oyo Empire, for example. These are, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, whoa, yes, really? These are kind of things that I want 4-year-olds to drink up because it's their history. They know who they are. But when you're talking to me about Christianity and Islam and all of that, that's not who you are. That's somebody else's story. Why don't we know our own story? That's what I'm really about. And I hope, programs like this is to create that interest in all of us, in every community. Your community in Zimbabwe is very, very important to me. Your community in South Africa is very, very important. The Zulus, the Kikuyus in Kenya, the Dogons in Mali, or you're just as important, because I believe that all of us, when we speak in African culture languages, we're breathing life into it, and our ancestors would help us in this journey to free Africa. Our languages is a tool to freedom in the whole of Africa, and we need to do it. Yes, exactly. So, thank you, Free Palestine, for that. So, yeah, let me go to the next one. Yeah, like I said, they carved up the kingdoms, open prison. So, like I said, those we had in Oyo Empire, for example. Oyo Empire extended as far as what is now Togo, and it extended as far as what is part of up to Ketu in Benin Republic. But Benin Republic is not actually Benin Republic. It's actually Dahomey. But again, to cause confusion, we all know that the old Benin Kingdom was far away from Dahomey. It was not next to Oyo Empire. But these are things that we need to understand about who we are. So some kids today will say, oh, Benin Kingdom. Oh, is that? And then when they hear about the Benin bronze heads, they say, oh, is that where they stole it from? No, 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 no. This is deliberate confusion. And that's because we're not in control of our own narrative as Africans. We must tell our own stories. You cannot tell your own story if you are busy serving the gods of those who colonized you. That's it. You can't. Because you will be busy confirming and reconfirming and finding facts about what you believe in based on what you have been told in that book by those who colonized you, either Christian or Muslim. We have to tell our own stories as Africans. We have to write our own narrative. We have to be in control of our resources. We have to be in control on the African continent. And the way, we are being shown the way by the the Alliance of Sahel States. We are being shown the way forward. Let us begin to look at that. How can we make sure that we encourage other governments in Africa to begin to look at things from that point of view? How can we influence that? African Zone 54. Have discussions. Let's start building things. We need to create the trade. Those trade. Nothing should leave Africa until all of Africa is enjoying part of that. Ancestors are awake. Yenge to you all. Tata K of Congo House, UK. Yes, my brother. Blessings to you. Yes. Ashe. In my language, we say Ashe. So this is really important for us to understand. They've done what they've done, but it is on us. And I want you to know, as Africans, on the African continent, we have the solution to our problems. You don't need to look to any Jesus anywhere. I need you to understand that. The solution is within your community. And the more you can communicate in your own language together, you can come together and solve that problem. That is what I'm saying to you. You can come together and you can solve this problem. Our language is so key. So key. So key. Speak that language. Communicate to your brother. And tell them about how you can even influence your government. Speaking French does not mean you're educated. Speaking English does not mean you're educated. It just shows that you are colonized. Nothing to do with education. Speaking Kikuyu, passing down tradition from your ancestors, and the clothes, and the food, and how to make it. Now that's education. See the difference? Because you speak English doesn't mean you're educated. You could be speaking nonsense. Oh, you speak it, others understand it. It's still nonsense. You could be speaking French because others understand it. Doesn't mean it's education. It's nonsense. That's why, for me as an African, I consider religion to be nonsense because you are getting people to believe in nonsense and they are ignoring what is going to sustain them: their land, their food, their culture, their spirituality. But they're focused on nonsense. Just my own humble opinion, of course. People have different views. I would like it is if as Africans, how, yeah, exactly. It's nonsense. Thank you. So I'm saying to you all, we need to really, in our communities, we got to really think again. We have to plan all of this together. It's not going to happen all in one go. Our language, our culture, our spirituality has to be the core of who we are. Let us know who we are. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, do you know who you are as an African? Do you know? I've just told you now. Earlier on, if you can watch the broadcast back, I'll see if I can play it again. Or you can go and watch it again on YouTube. I told you exactly that every part of Africa had its own African spirituality. Islam came and destroyed it. Christianity came and destroyed it. Now we still have remnants somewhere. It is part of who we are. Our spirituality accommodated both religions of Islam and Christianity, even though it was against our own culture. They were threatening to eradicate our own culture. And that is something that is in you and I. That is what we need to, deeply understand. I'm sensing, may it please our ancestors as I say this. I want you to know that when I wrote this Carve Up, those points there were the things I'm going to talk about. Quite what was going to come from the discussion, I had no clue. But I firmly believe that my ancestors are telling me to pass this message on to anybody in Africa who will listen. I hope you will make good use of it within your community, because we need all of us to make this change. These religions, they are nonsense. In my own opinion, they are not bringing a cohesive society on the African continent. Plain fact. They are retarding our people, and they are making our land divisive. And that is the reality of it. I know people will not like me saying this, but on the African continent, we need to speak our truth to power. In speaking that truth, we can now begin to address how we're going to solve it. The solutions are there. There are solutions to our problem within our communities. Don't look outside. Anybody telling us to look outside is trying to make sure that we never solve that problem. When they tell you to look to Jesus Christ for the solution, look to Allah, they don't want you to ever solve that problem, because when you solve that problem, you shut off the access to your resources. The religion is a platform that they use in taking away your resources. I've just proved it to you. Please let us take note. So, they carved up the African continent. And of course, we are carved up. And because we are carved up, we cannot move around. This one belongs to the French. Oh, you can't go there. You have to go and get paperwork. This one belongs to the English. Oh, you can't go there. You have to go and get paperwork. Meanwhile, if somebody was trying to sell fresh goods and they wanted to go from Nigeria to Ghana, they have to go through borders to get to Ghana. If they say paperwork, it might take 2 days, 3 days. Meanwhile, the perishable goods goes bad within 2 days. That is literally the impact of these borders. But you are talking to me about Christianity and Islam. That's nonsense. Those borders are the most important thing. We shouldn't have borders preventing Africans moving freely across the whole African continent. That concerns you and I. And in Europe, there is no restriction to movement of the people. Why are you imposing that? And this was imposed via the religion of Christianity. Fact. On the African continent. But we're not addressing that. So before you talk to me about, oh, Jesus Christ said this, or Islam, talk to me, how are we solving that problem about the borders that those religions imposed, that they used the religion to impose on us? Let's come up with that. Exactly. the colonial borders ensure. You hit the nail on the head. That's the point. I'm glad you saw it. The colonial borders ensure colonization, colonialism will continue. And when colonialism continues, it means that the religions will continue to divide, to make sure that we never speak with one voice. But I'm glad that we are seeing Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, Assem Goita of Mali, and General Chiang of Niger forming that unity, that alliance of Sahel states. We need to really make sure we should, as Africans, we must do everything we can to protect that alliance. It must succeed. We must do everything as Africans to nurture, to support that alliance of Sahel states. It must succeed. It must succeed. We must all be focused on it as Africans. Whatever they try to do to break that down, bring it down. We must never ever let it go down. We must support it. Spiritually, speak it to existence. Spiritually, speak. I support the alliance of Sahel states. May our ancestors guide and protect them. They are working for Africans. Speak it. Ashe, Ashe, may it be so. In your language. We can support it. The whole of Africa can support the alliance of Sahel states. Spiritually. And I guarantee you, it will continue to grow. That is the prayer. Is any Christian telling you to speak about, to pray for it to succeed, or any Islamic? Are they? Because they know, they don't want you to think about that. Because when you start thinking about that, it threatens the very religion of Islam and Christianity. That's a fact. That's a fact. So if you're going to use if you're going to talk about religion, please, you are just making it difficult for Africa to be free. That's the reality of it. That's the reality. So let's go to the next thing. So I've talked about the Carve Up. Okay. And of course, the imposed currency on Africa when we had trade by barter. I've spoke about that, but I'm going to mention it again. Trade by barter was something that was used in Africa. At one point, we were using cowrie shells. Many of you in Yoruba land, we use cowrie shells a lot to trade. And that became a big thing. So from trade by barter to cowrie shells, and cowrie shells is, I don't have it on me. I have it on I have one or two on my, you've seen me on my broadcast, I have it. It is part of who we are. That's our history. You know, how many people, do you even know what is cowrie shells? How many people know what cowrie shells are? Do you know what it looks like? Do you know where it comes from? As an African, do you know? If you don't know that, it is more important for you to know that than to know about any Bible or any Quran. Fact. Fact. You know? Yeah. Christianity, colonization and commerce. Yes, thank you. They came on the same boat. I love that. I love that. Yes, the 3 C's. Christianity, colonization and commerce. Exactly. So when you are in the pulpit and you're talking about Jesus Christ said this, you don't know what you're talking about. You're talking nonsense. Because that's what you've been fed. That's what you've been fed. Likewise, Islam. As an African, if you're practicing those things in your land, you are enslaving your own people by your own hands. Fact. Take it or leave it. And we have to be factual about what we're saying. Africa will not be free unless we, the Africans, collectively wake up and disassociate ourselves actively, consciously on the African continent from these religions that have colonized us. We need to take control, and we need to now reconnect with our spiritual ancestors, our African spirituality. We must do. And we are calling at this point, we are asking, we must do everything we can in the spiritual realm. We start calling back. Every African, start calling back your African artifacts spiritually. Visualize it coming back into Africa, because it's part of what we will need to complete the circle between us, the spiritual artifacts, and our ancestors to heal our African continent. Visualize them coming back. Visualize every single one of them, those African artifacts that they stole. Start visualizing it coming back into the African continent. Coming back, despite whoever wants to prevent it from coming back, it's coming back. They themselves know that they have spiritual connections. They broke those connections. They said it. When they put the flag on the land and put it in the land, it's to break the spiritual connection that kept the African continent and the kingdoms intact. They said it themselves. These are facts. Go and check it. No. So I'm talking about this in a way that we have to, our minds now should no longer be in any Bible or any Quran. Just think of it as a story. Like a story, like any other story. As far as an African is concerned, if you're an African, they are just stories. You need to focus on your own story. Do you know your story before Christianity, before Islam? Ask yourself that question. Do you know your story? If you don't, make that your research. Know your story first. Because those who are telling you that story, they know their story. That's why they're telling you. You need to be able to know your African story and know what it means and why things are happening and why you eat this food and why you have to change the season, change the crops in the seasons because of what your ancestors told you, and why you are accommodating other religions. Because you need to know the days of the week. You need to know the deities that you worship. You need to know all those things as an African, because we don't know it. We must know it. So they imposed the currency, batter, like I said. So I talked about cowrie shells. Now from cowrie shells, now they came with the currency, money, once in paper. They call it. They call it once in paper. Let me see if I can read something to you here. I have something somewhere that I want to just quickly bring up. So from time to time, I think it's good to know these things, because you think everything that you think you're doing is all planned. When you think currency was planned and put in place from the 1884 Berlin Conference. What you call currency now was put in place at the 1884 Berlin Conference. Let me see if I can find that information for you. 1 second. Let's have a look. If you know your story, nobody can trick you. You need to know your story. They cannot tell you any lies. They cannot come and dress as a pastor or an imam, and then they think they are all holy once they're taking your research. You cannot be holy and be stealing my stuff. That's not holy. That's looting. That's stealing. Don't come and try and put a gown to try and I'm exalted. No, nonsense. You stole. You're a thief. You're not holy. You're a thief. Call it what it is. You're a thief. Don't come in front of me and start making me think I'm going to bow down to. Bow down to what? You stole my stuff and you're trying me to beg. No. That's why you need to know your story. When you know your story, they can't tell you lies. Please research you. Do you know who you are? Let me just see if I can find it. Once in paper. I'm going to read something to you, and I'll see if I can. Once in paper. I just want to bring that to you. This is what's on the Berlin Conference. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, hang on. I can't see it. Once in paper. Give me 1 sec. I think I have it somewhere. I just need to, now I'm going to find this now. Is it, what's it called again? Not Belgium. Okay. Okay, let me see if that opens. Okay. I don't delete it. I don't want to see. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I think I've got it. 1 minute. I just want to go and get this out for you so you can see it yourself fully. Aha, here we go. So I'm going to read to you. Listen to this now. So this is to tell you this is connected to currency, is even connected to religion. Let me just see. Yeah, listen to this. Listen to this. So because I need you to really understand and make sure that you don't allow anybody to tell you lies and don't question it. The religion, they don't want you to question anything. You notice that? They don't want you to question them. Because when you question, you are exposing what is being done. They don't want that. They don't want you to question them. And you need to know. If you're going to, don't take anything anybody says to you at face value. Find out what it is. Why are you telling me this? What is the reason? Why? Now, I'm going to read something to you. This again from the Berlin Conference, Yeah. Now, the paper of the missions in such a way in that it says respect to the expansion of Christian religions. This is in the 1884 Berlin Conference. So they're talking about religion in the Berlin Conference. So you see that religion is a fraud. I kid you not. Let's go forward. So now, let me read again. The paper of the missions in such a way that it says respect to the expansion of the Christian religions, as in that if it relates to the diffusion of the practical values and the cultural ones of the colonized. So they are devaluing our own cultural, African spirituality, devaluing it, diffuse it, make it look meaningless, of the colonized, and change of the symbolic systems. So they even changed the symbolic system. That is why they took away all our African artifacts. That is why you are getting straight from, this is from the Berlin Conference. They planned, 14 European countries planned to take away your African spiritual artifacts, because they were like your signposts to take it away from you completely, to lose who you are. Oh man. Know who you are. Please, you need to know who you are as an African. You don't. If you don't know that, then it's of no interest to you to learn about Christianity or Islam. I tell you what, when you know who you are, you will already automatically see Christianity and Islam as a story. Because you know who you are. You are confident in you are. That's the problem. You don't know who you are. They took away your artifact to make you lose sight of who you are. Now let me listen on. Let me read on. Here we go. So I'm going to read this to you. It then says here, I'll read on a bit more. So it says, the change of the symbolic systems, particularly visible in religious structures, that if multiplied, churches and chapels and crosses and crucifixes. You see what I mean? They took away our African sculptures from all our societies, put it away in museums, and are making money on it now. And then they put the churches and the mosque, and even now there is a church, the Deeper, is it the Deeper Life? I don't know what it's called, or the Redeemed, or whatever they call it, in Lagos. I kid you not, it can take 1 million people in Lagos. Michael Palin was there. I showed the video. Oh man, yeah, and your Bibles, yes. So now, the churches and the chapels and crosses and crucifixes, sending for the space to interdict, prohibit the practice of African beliefs. They actually prohibit you as an African. But many of you don't know this. They prohibit you practicing your African spirituality. The Christianity that is telling you it's the only way came into your land and prohibit you from practicing your African spirituality. But many of you don't know this. You see why we need to do our research? It's not about hate. It's about Africans understanding what was done and why we need to connect to our African spirituality, because there is something that they obviously know is working, that was so successful that they had to remove it and put it in museums. You're hearing now. They prohibit, because that is how powerful, when you connect with your spirituality, they know how powerful this is as an African. We are spiritual beings. So they actually prohibit the practice of African beliefs, the religious expressions of the Africans, and devaluing the legal-consummate idols, witchcraft, etc. So they devalue in our own land, our own spirituality, in our own land. We didn't go to Europe. They came and you guys need to understand, and you're still intent on practicing Christianity and Islam. Islam actually destroys. They actually go into a place, when you have a culture, African culture, they actually destroy it, so that you will never remember it. And the Christianity takes it away, goes and hides it and makes money on it. Either way, the object is to yeah. Of course, miracles, without a doubt. You're welcome home, always. You're welcome home. Miracles and abundance, yes. Yes. My brother, yes, it's not about hate. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know why spirituality is so important. If we do not do this work and we just say just do it, you don't understand. Now you're seeing what was done at the Berlin conference. This was the plan that they sat down and they had on the map. They had the map on the wall. Let me get that map up. Let me see if I can get that map. Berlin conference map. Those of you who are in on the YouTube, you will see. Go and subscribe to Zinewa on YouTube and help us grow this platform. We appreciate you. We are over 3,000 now on the platform, and we're grateful for your support. Help us grow the platform. Let me just, I want to get you to picture, because I don't want you to leave this to any imagination. I want you to picture exactly what was done, you know, so that way you know why you must explore your spirituality. They've done everything they can to hide this from you as an African. And to yourself and to your coming generation, you need to know. You need to know it. So let me pin that up. I want to pin that comment. It's not about hate. It's spirituality, reality. It's spirituality, reality. My brother, thank you. Thank you very much. That is it. That is it. It's not about hate. And I always say that because I want people to think I'm digging for hate. No, to understand myself. That saying is so powerful. Africa, know thyself. It is so powerful. And we are beginning to know ourselves through programs like this. So, Berlin conference. Let me just get that up. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I need you to, those of you who are watching, if you are on YouTube, you will see a picture now that is on the broadcast. You will see behind me a picture of the Berlin conference. And on the wall, the thing I want to draw your attention to is a map of Africa in the background. Otto von Bismarck is sitting, just turning towards the picture, the person drawing the picture, and is sitting in the middle of the discussion. And Prince Albert, or Prince, some sort of I don't know which king, I don't know. There was anyway, they're all, sitting there, 12 of them. And on the background is the African map. And that map is what has led to what you see behind me, those of you in TikTok. That map that they drew there. That's how they carved up Africa. You need to know these things. You see why you have to explore and understand your African spirituality. Don't remain blinded by the religions that they've imposed on your ancestors. Both Islam and Christianity, they were imposed. I've just given you evidence. Let's carry on and read a bit more. Okay, so I'll leave that picture, and every time as I'm reading it, just know that everything that's happening on the continent was determined at the Berlin conference. Yes, truth is love. Yes. Yes. It is love, my brother, it is, yes. Now, let's go ahead. So, now it says here, it's religious symbols, but also the introduction of European symbols, taxes to the Africans. It was at the Berlin conference that they introduced taxes, the European concept of taxes. We had our own taxes, Owonibode we call it, but the taxes they did. How can you come to somebody's land, take the land over, and you then tax them as well? I have to laugh. You come to the land, you go and have a meeting at Berlin conference to stop yourselves fighting over our land among yourselves. You now decide to carve it up. And the areas you carve up, you collect taxes from the people. But yet you are telling us we sold ourselves. But you forget to mention that you actually create slave camps that we cannot move around. We're not free. But then you blame us that we sold ourselves. Is that not hypocrisy? Is that not hypocrisy? I'm just pointing all of this out. It's important we know who we are as Africans. Now, okay, so let me just say again. I'll read this bit again. But also the introduction of European symbols, taxes to the Africans. I'm talking about specific. We have our own taxes because I know in Yoruba land we have something called Owonibode. So when we had Oyo Empire and they had the other empires around it, they had protection system. So those places that they took over and controlled, they will pay taxes to the king of Oyo and Oba of Oyo, to protect them. So we have our own form of taxes. So let's be clear, it's not a new, yeah. Exactly, only a poorest person could think of. Let me put that up. So these are things, but you see, all of this you see that they don't mention any of this in the Bible talk. They don't mention it. But that's what they use the Bible to do. And you're busy defending the Bible and all that. You need to know yourself. African, know thyself. African, know thyself. I'm only interested in you knowing yourself. That is why I'm doing this. It's not about hate. I need you to understand yourself as an African. Because when you understand yourself as an African, we will unite. That's the object. When you don't understand who you are, you will fall for anything. That is why you are falling for Christianity, falling for Islam, because you don't know yourself. But when you know yourself, you will know when you see the book of Islam and Christianity as an African, knowing yourself, you will just look at them as storybooks. And that's what they are afraid of. They don't want you to know yourself. The more of you that know yourself, the weaker that power of those religions on your mind, in your continent. It is literally that simple. But let's go forward a bit more. So, and then it says here, this Portuguese flag, whose mast can be stuck in the land, violating the spirits. Now, do you see why you need to connect with your African spirituality? They know that we are spiritual. They know that our spirituality is powerful. Sticking it into the land to make us turn away from it. Sticking their flag. And that's why you see those colors. To make us, to force us to turn away from our spirituality. Do you see what I'm saying? These are the same people that brought Christianity to you. I'm saying this so you understand. There's more. There's more. There's more. Okay. And this bit is the bit I want you to understand. The currency wants metallic, wants in paper. To be able to control those areas, they had to have currencies to control it. That is why in the French, they created the CFA. The CFA that the French don't use. They use the euro. But they give you the African, the CFA, to control you. So you think you are rich. They can make you poor overnight because they control the money. Look, I'm telling you, guys, you need to wake up. African, know thyself. Know thyself. Yes, exactly. So we must have this. We chant and drum agent the individual problem. Exactly. So, look, I've just told you now, I'm giving you really in-depth information here. And what I'm trying to do is to break down and demystify this thing they call religion. It is part of a tool to control your mind. It is part of a tool. And even the paper money, people will fight and kill over the CFA francs. But the French who print it don't use it. That is why I am so glad that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have come out of the CFA. They don't use it anymore. They trade now with their own currency. Every single African country must do the same. The current currency tied to US dollars or to pounds or whatever. Why should you be connected to the currencies of those who colonized you? I don't understand. But you are here telling me about Jesus Christ and Allah. And this is going on. And every time they tie it, they're impoverishing you. They are buying. When they control, you need to understand something. We need to understand this collectively. When those who colonize you dictate the price, the rate of your currency, they can dictate the price at which you sell your resources. And that's what's going on right now. That's why France is so afraid of what is happening in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. They no longer have the control. They cannot buy the resources of those countries at dirt cheap prices. You see why we need to have free movement across the whole of Africa? You see why it is very important to support the African Alliance of Sahel States? We need to pray. We need to have our African spirituality. Get our African ancestors to support, to to protect the Alliance of African States. Because this is what we need to do. We have to free Africa. It's not about hating anybody else, but for Africa to grow, Africa needs to be free. We, the people, the land, we need to be free and connect to our African ancestors and remember them. And they will guide us. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. So, that picture, those of you watching on YouTube, you see that. That's the Berlin Conference. And in the background there, you can see the African map. Everything from religion to commerce to education to food, everything is all. What is going on right now on the African continent was planned in that building in the Berlin Conference, headed by Otto von Bismarck. And it is impacting every single part of Africa till today. Till today. I need you to think about that. They've allowed the Arabs to take the northern Africa. That's why it's in red. In terms of commerce again. It's about commerce. It's about commerce. Okay, if you take that bit, whatever food that you're eating and they're growing it and then you control the mind. Arabic on the African continent. Arabic is Arab. You are telling me, oh, you are speaking Arabic. Where does Arabic come from? Is it not Arab land? Arab land is not in Africa. I'm just, look, we have to think. When you start putting Arabic on the African continent, that is colonization. You may think, oh, it's Arabic, it's a religion. No, it's colonization, I'm telling you, on the African continent. But it requires, you see, myself, I'm learning that the more I know about my African spirituality, the more I can see things clearly. I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yeah. The African spirituality is the sun. It brightens your day. You see clearly. You suddenly look. You go, now I get it. But when you're in the Bible or the Quran, it doesn't make sense. Don't keep reading. Oh, okay. But with African spirituality, it's like, boom, you see it. You can see everything that's been done. And the object is for you to just see yourself. And you need to know. And then your community, please. We need to start building trust back to our communities. Because these religions, they cross division. The religions of Islam and Christianity. No, I'm Christian. No, I'm Muslim. My God is the only way. Your God is the only way. Division. Then it goes down into, oh, I'm from this tribe and that tribe. Again, that was an idea. Tribalism was an idea put in by the colonials to ensure that Africans remain divided. I kid you not. And of course, money. Wanting paper. These are all plans. Everything that is happening on the African continent was designed and planned at the Berlin Conference. I kid you not. It's on us now as Africans to dismantle this one by one on the African continent through discussions, plans. There are ways we need to go into it, but I'm just showing you what has been done. Now, once you know what's been done, you can start having ideas in your own community how we can actually begin to wake up people. And now people need to know this message in their own local language so they understand the connection between what they call religion and the borders on our land. At the minute, our people don't understand that there's a connection between the religion of Christianity and the borders that we see on the African continent right now. There's no connection. They think they're separate things, but they're one and the same. That's the reality of what we need to do. And I'm hoping that many of us will join in this discussion. Again, please get curious about your African spirituality. Those who are willingly forcing, making you think and see about Christianity and Islam and all that, they have ulterior motives that is hidden from you. I hope by programs like this, you are beginning to see it. You can be able to picture it yourself. The discussion must not end here like this. It's not just about this discussion. Please yourself, have you got 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour? Are you are you serious about Africa growing? Can you do a program on your own? You can do it on your own platform. Talk to a few people, talk to your friends, share ideas, bring ideas. I'll come and join you. Because this struggle requires all of us. We need to build trust in our communities as Africans. And you don't build trust when somebody's telling you theirs is the only way, theirs is the only way. But our own African culture says, no, we welcome everybody. That's fine. But, we still practice ours. But instead, they are telling us that our own is actually wrong. And they made us, they forced our ancestors to not practice our spirituality. They hid it from them. Some of them were doing it in secret. They forced us to turn our backs on it. And many of us who are now in this religion of Islam and Christianity, we believe that that's all we've ever had, we've ever known. Not true. I'm giving you evidence. We need to know all of this. And please share. Don't forget, go ahead and subscribe to Zinewa on YouTube. Hit the notification button. Give us thumbs up. Help us grow the platform. We really do need your support. Subscribe to Season AY. Hit the notification button. Give us thumbs up. Follow this program. Help us like, share, follow. Give us love. I'm grateful for those of you who are watching. There's other topics that we're going to be covering. But we need to have regular discussions. I don't have to be part of that group, part of what you're discussing. The most important thing is if we are all talking and we are making sure that as long as we are putting African spirituality at the core of what we're doing, because that's what we are. Our spirituality has to be at the core of what we are. Once we know our spirituality, then we will know that the books of Islam and the Bible, as the version that they have, they are just stories. What is important is to know ourselves and be able to use that knowledge to build our communities back on the African continent and to have the infrastructures. All of this, there is this fear by the religion, the colonials, that if Africa starts having infrastructures and things, somehow they will lose and whatever, they will suffer. But, we should not let that be our concern. Our concern is how are we going to build a safe future for the coming generation of Africans? How are we going to build trust and pride in their ancestors? We must tell our own stories on the African continent. The Arabs, Okay. You can join me as well, MK. You can join me on Africa Zoom 54. I can, we can. Let me see. I'll put you. I will. What do you call it? I'm going to try and follow you. I'll follow you right now. So, if you want to join me on the Africa Zoom, I'll be doing one of this Thursday. We do it once a week, where anybody if you are from all 54 or 55 African states, we meet up and we just discuss. Yes, we can see the devil works. Thank you. This is it. I love that stage. We know God from time, but now we can see the devil works. Thank you. They know. The King of Belgium said it. He said, the Africans know about God, but we want them to, they have to bow to what we want. They know. It's a trick. It's a trick. I will do a program about the Belgium king. I'll do that separately another time. But I hope that we found this beneficial. MK49720, please, do get in touch. And I would like to have you as a member of the Africa Zoom 54, because we need to have discussions among us. This needs to happen in a lot of small spaces, We're not talking about black and white. You don't get it. Africa cannot develop without knowing who we are. If you are telling somebody to just unite under Islam and they don't know who they are, that will not work, because the people are going to be trying to work under that religion, and that is what is causing division on the African continent. Whether or not you are Christian or Muslim, you are first an African. You need to know what it is to be an African, is what I'm saying. That is the problem. And every time you come back and talk about, as all Muslims, that is colonization. You are speaking in the language of colonization. And that is not helping. Africans need to know about Africans. Period. Not about Islam, not about Christianity. It's about themselves and their connection to their ancestors. It is their right. I know a lot of religious people get afraid when I say that, but I'll be very, very clear. We need to identify as Africans with our ancestors. And the religions, they put it as the foundation that we must disassociate from our ancestors. And that is why Africa is not developing. Again, like I said, it's not about your religion. It's about Africans. How are we going to unite? If we are uniting under the false premise of forgetting who we are, we're not going to build anything. We will remain divided. Some would go and say, I'm Christian. Some would say, I'm Muslim. And that's exactly the plan of those colonizers, Islam and Christian, the Arabs and the Europeans. That's the plan. We need to know who we are as Africans on the African continent to be able to build Africa. And that includes our spirituality, which they try to hide from us. So I reject that. Yeah, throw away their stupid key to open their door, not ours. Exactly. So I need you to understand now. I hope you can see this now. I'm not here to debate about Christianity is better or Islam is better. That means nothing. They are books to me. They're just books. Someone tells a good story. That's their story. That's how they see the world. I want to see the world through the eyes of my ancestors. What made them think of putting 4 days a week, 7 weeks in a month, to make 13 months in a year? How did they know about the 28, the cycle of the moon, that it ties to that? That's what I want to know. So I make sense of the world around me, not what somebody told me in a book. It is so, not question. No. I'm not interested in that. We have to understand who we are. To be able to build anything spiritually, we have to be centered. That is why this is important. It's not about hating with Islam or Christianity. It makes no skin on my nose. You can talk about it all you want. As an African, I would urge you, in our African spaces, let's talk about African spirituality. Because that way we grow and learn. You are not going to learn anything from Islam or Christianity. It's a book. It's a book. You won't learn. You know? You will not learn. You will not learn from any book, any Quran, any book. But when you speak and you learn about your African ancestors, why they did the 4 days a week, why they do spiritual why they worship the spiritual deities, you know, and all of that, and the cycle of the moon, and why they say, you know, don't eat certain things, why, you know, all of this, and you seek guidance from Ifa, which is our ancestors. Because believe it or not, because what the church is trying to do is to replicate what you do speaking to your ancestors to seek guidance. But they, of course, they're giving a generic thing. It doesn't connect to who you are. You go to the pastor and say, I've got this problem, and he'll just say, go and read this verse, come back here, and Jesus is that, and God, you're saved. Your ancestors will break down why you must do this, why they suggest this, and they can foretell what is going to happen. That is what you are as an African. Big difference. Spirituality. Don't mix it up. I'm not here to debate your Islam. I don't have any. You believe that. That's fine. But as an African, if you don't connect to your African spirituality, Africa will not have unity and be able to grow and have a future for the coming generation. We need to know who we are. I'm not debating whether or not you believe in Christianity or Islam. But as an African, make it your business to connect to your spirituality. Make it your business. Know who you are first. Before you take anything else. Before you go outside and say, I'm this and that. You know, when you go outside, you make sure you're dressed first. You have clothes on. You don't go outside naked. When you go and support Islam and Christianity, it's like you're walking around naked. You don't know who you are first. You don't know the clothes you're wearing. You're just going. Now you now know, once you know who you are as an African, and your spirituality and why they did things, you can now have a debate or discussion about Islam and Christianity and say, no, okay, we do it this way. And you have a respect for yourself. Yes, Africa need to unite. Let's build this continent. Thank you very much. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you see, everything is written in Quran. I'm not interested in what the Quran says. I'm not interested in that in Quran book. My ancestors, there is in Ifa has everything that I need. As a Yoruba man, Ifa has everything that I need. I'm saying it. Category Ifa has everything. What I will be, what is going to happen, Ifa has it. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with me or not as an Islamic person, it's up to you. But I know. And that is what we need to do as Africans. We need to connect with African spirituality and be comfortable with that. Now, if you want me to, you can say, I can talk to you about what the Quran said. You can talk to me about what the Bible said. You can talk to me about that. We can discuss. But I'm not going to have a discussion when I know for a fact that my spirituality and the fact that it's been hidden from me has harmed not only me, but my community and the entire African continent. We need to fix Africa. This is more than your religion of Islam or Quran now. This is about the coming generation. The future of the coming generation of Africans is more important than any Quran and any Bible. That's it. So that is, our ancestors are, look, the Ifa, they can read you, they can see things about you, relating to you and your community and how it's going to be viable. The Bible can't do that. I'm telling you that. The Quran can't do that. Whether you like it or not. So the stories they told relates to those who are telling those stories. I need to know my own story. And I choose, and as an African, you will respect my African spirituality on my African continent. You will. It's not a question of if. I'm not giving you any right to doubt my African spirituality. You don't have that right. I don't question your Iran, your Quran. I don't question it as an Arab. That's for you. But on Africa, it is my birthright to know my African spirituality. This is my birthright to know about the cycle of the moon and how it relates to my African spirituality. It's my birthright. You don't have the right to deny me that. None. And however way you say it, I need to know myself first. Whatever you say in terms of Christianity and Islam, I must know who I am first. That's where the journey starts. And we teach our children that. And my language, my Yoruba language, has to be handed down to my generations and generations and generations. And this generation must begin to do that. We need to begin to do that. Pride in who we are. And that is what and in every other African language as well. Our languages are just as important. Every single African language is important. We mustn't lose any one of them. We mustn't. So, yeah, exactly. You can say, thank you. Oh, I love that. Yes, you can say that about some words in the book, but you will never ever share nothing with Africa. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. If our birthright meets hell, we're happy to go there. In my language, my ancestors never talk about hell. It is the concept of hell was brought by Islam and Quran, and Islam and Christianity. Our ancestors talked about doing well, being good. If you don't do good, you get the repercussion. It's not about, oh, I'm going to go to heaven. If I do this, I'll go to heaven. If I'm forgotten, your sins are forgiven. No. Our journey on this earth, there is a reason why we're here, according to my ancestors. And there's a path for us. This religion cuts across those things and makes us forget who we are and makes us forget the month of the year. 13 months in a year. How can you tell me that 12 months of the year and 13 months of the year, is okay? It doesn't make any difference. It makes a big difference. And you are deliberately. How can you just wipe my ancestral calendar and just say, oh, no, just follow this one now? And you don't think it won't impact my growth and my development and that of my coming generation? What are you saying to me? What are you actually saying to me? I need to know who I am. You as an African, please, I urge you, don't do this for me. Do it for your coming generation. Know who you are and pass it to the next generation and watch how Africa will flourish. They are afraid of us knowing who we are. And we must go, we have to go to the light. Going to the light is connecting you with your African spirituality. Trust me, it is. Everything they've done is to try and hide our light. Yes. There's no more fear factors. Exactly. So look, yeah, if I'm, these are the things that we need to challenge. Everybody will say, they will say, oh, people, and put fear in people. And then people, I'm worshiping my ancestors, the gods of my ancestors, Eshu. And then you tell me it's satanic. So what gives you the right as a Christian or as a Muslim to call my ancestors satanic? What? Where? I don't give you that right. You don't have that right. My ancestors accommodate everybody. But your ancestors in my land pushes the people who were there in the first place out. And you expect me to accept that? Wake up. Wake up and think. Think. Africans, I need you to think. Think beyond what they are telling you in the books. You need to put the book away and think yourself. Think. You have the power to solve the problems. Those books are keeping you away from solving your problems in Africa. I'm saying it categorically. Those books are keeping you away from solving the problems, from coming together as a community to solve your problems. We need to be cognizant of that fact. So let me put this up again for those of you who are here. So those are the 7 points. Now, what did you think? What are your thoughts on the 7 points that are put up here? What are your thoughts on the 7 points that you see on the screen going above me? Should we add more? Do you recognize it? Do you agree? Do you have questions? Would you do another program about it? That kind of thing. And, I'm just sort of, because we need to be asking questions every time. You see, like I said, in Ifa, you will go to our to the Ifa man or woman, and you would ask them a question, and they would throw the okwele. They will do the okwele. The okwele will now answer you and say, this is what will happen if you do this, or okay, we think this is okay. If you ask another question on that, they will do it again, and they would answer you. So there is interaction in Ifa. When somebody goes with you and you have a problem with the Bible, the pastor will come and read verses in the Bible. Tell me, how does that interact with your own personal life as an African? This is something that knows you. Your idile is mentioned, is part of Ifa. There's no connection between you and Ifa as a Yoruba man, and between you and the Bible or the Quran as a Yoruba man. There is every connection between Ifa and you as a Yoruba man, whether you're a Christian or Muslim. Fact. Your idile has Oriki. Exactly. Thank you. The question should be, how do you know that the belief of my ancestors are of the devil? Thank you. Oh, I love that question today, my brother. Yes. You see, I pinned it up. That's what we need to be doing. Please, let's use our mind. When you put the Bible and the Quran to one side, we have innate abilities to solve problems. Africans, I need you to know this. You have the ability to solve problems within your own community. There's nothing you cannot solve. There is nothing on this planet that you cannot solve as an African. You need to know that. We need to inculcate this into the minds of our children. Their mind is a beautiful thing. Africa African spirituality allows them to grow. I saw a young boy. There's a video I'm going to post. The young boy was already reciting parts of Ifa. They were doing the Ifa thing. I'm not good at it, but he can't be 3. And he was saying those words, and I was like, wow. It is part of who he is. It is part of who he is. So there is future in this for us as Africans. Let us embrace this. Don't let anybody that's telling you that your own spirituality is satanic to tell you anything. They cannot tell you, you cannot preach anything on any, you have no right. You have no morality whatsoever, moral basis whatsoever to come and talk to me about anything to do with morality, anything in life. Because you've made yourself judge and jury over my African spirituality, of which you have no right. Zero right. I don't give you that right. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you come? Take my stuff. Man, that's what we need to speak. You need to speak this truth to power. It's time we woke up, my people. It is time. There is a lot of work to do. There is much work for us all to do. And I hope that many of you, I hope I've provoked a thought process in you to make you think about things in a very, very African perspective, deliberately so, from a very, very African perspective. Why is it that we are not allowed? We are not allowed. Why is it that we are prevented from being part of our, embracing and having and being comfortable with our African spirituality? Whose business? Why is it their business? Yes. They respect you more when you know your stuff. Exactly. So these are the things we should be doing. Don't be bound, yes, because of the conditioning. We have to break free from it at some point. We've got to break free from that conditioning. We know it's happened. And the sad thing is that it is now self-perpetuating. Our own African leaders are now using the same religion to exploit their own people, both Christian and Islam, knowing fully well the harm it's doing in our community. That is why we need to speak up. They know that it's not working. They know that they're just there exploiting the people. But because they've been so conditioned to accept that injustice, and they forget. As I'm watching you, every African that I'm seeing that's on here, and I thank you for joining me. You're my reflection. I am your reflection. I should be thinking, I shouldn't do this to my brother and sister. We should build our communities. And that is what we need to do. That is the thinking. And that is what our spirituality, let me read something to you again. I'm actually very, very, those words, the way it came to me, I'm really quite, I'm so grateful. And I thank my ancestors because there's a reason why those words came out. Traditional African religions are tolerant of other gods. I want you to think about that. It is part of your DNA. Traditional African gods are tolerant of African gods, of other gods. So they do not go and rubbish anybody. They don't call anything that they don't know a different name. They accept that's who they are. So what gives Christianity or Islam the right to term my African spirituality as satanic? What? What gives you the right? And the fact that you do that shows that you have ulterior motives. You don't want me to use my brain. You don't want me to speak to, you want to break the link between me and my ancestors. I hope many of you are seeing what I'm saying. You can see that what I'm saying on YouTube. I've got it there, right there now on my YouTube channel. Citizen AY, the platform where we speak to power. You just go on there, you will see it. It's live on there right now. It's very, very important that we are clear. I'm not here about hating Islam or Christianity. I am falling in love with my African spirituality. It is part of me. I have to love me. To love me, I need to know what me is about. I have to know what it means to follow the 28 days of the week of my ancestors. I have to know why they say to me I've got to eat this same kind of food and avoid that. I have to know why they say you have to wear certain clothes in a particular time and a particular season and all of that. That's part of me as an African. And you have no right to interfere in that process. As an African, this is what we need to be teaching to our people. We need to know everything about ourselves inside out. 360 all around, up and down, wherever, so that we are comfortable. We know who we are. We step on the planet, on the earth. We step on the soil with purpose as Africans. I'm saying this because my ancestors want us to wake up collectively as Africans. They are waiting for us. You and me. They need us. Africa is badly damaged, but there are still ways we can connect and repair and heal Africa, and it has to be done spiritually. Quran, Islam, Christianity, Bible, written by those colonials, has no interest, idea. Yes, our ancestors never lie. Idea of what the interaction between my ancestor through the spiritual sculptures and myself, how that nurtures and heals a continent that's been ravaged, looted, stolen, enslaved. Has no idea how the healing process we need to go through. They don't care about the healing process. They're just inflicting the wound. Our job is to heal Africa. That's why we need African spirituality. That's, I'm certain. We need that. And we need to build it slowly. It's going to take some time. And there's more of us who need to join this struggle. That's why I'm saying, know yourself. Just know yourself. I know you know Bible, but the Bible has not fixed your road. Quran cannot fix your road. Your spirituality will make sure that you have a community. You will all identify as one thing. You're Africans. Your African spirituality connects you in your community. Now you're not looking at solving your problems together. And that is what we need. These religions profiles different solutions that will deliberately create divisions to make sure that you never solve the problem that you all collectively suffer from. Fact. It's time we look to African spirituality. Let's explore it as Africans. Find out who we are. When we find out who we are, we will solve our problems. I am so grateful for you joining me today. You are, of course, watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak to the power. Listen, I'm going to have a bit of a break now. I may come back maybe in another hour or so, and maybe I'll cover the topics I'll be doing now. You'll be seeing it's going to be a lot around Africa, and sometimes I may go specific and mention Nigeria. I'll be talking about a lot about Alliance of Sahel, because we need to understand that the Alliance of Sahel is not just something that happened like that. This is something that happened in the spiritual realm. It is something that's happening in the spiritual realm. And it's time we woke up. Somebody's calling me. I don't want to take that. Bike Akekpelu. I'm sorry. Okay. Listen, I will call her back. I'll call them back. I will call them up. I can't take it now. I can't take that now. Sorry. I will call them later. I don't want to take that now. Sorry about that. So, what I'm going to do is I'll be back later on. I hope you found this beneficial. What are your thoughts? If you can leave comments. Please do endeavor to join us on YouTube. Go and subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube. I thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this beneficial. Leave comments. Let us grow together. Find out who you are. Christianity and Islam is not who you are. Know who you are as an African. Explore your own foundations. Be certain. Step in. Take every step with purpose. Once you know your African spirituality, you will know exactly who you are and what you're supposed to do. You will know your purpose. If you think you have a purpose with Islam and Christianity, think again. If those were purpose, Africa would have already been a great place right now. We've been practicing those religions, and they've kept us divided and oppressed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, spirituality. So I want to thank you so much, Caswell, Wabi. I'll endeavor to follow as many of you as I can. Please do follow. Please do share. And of course, please go ahead and subscribe to Zenewa on YouTube. Help us grow the platform. I'll be back later on. Remember, we must eat, sleep, drink, and think Africa. We have to. They made us eat, sleep, drink, and think Europe. Now we must eat, drink, think, and sleep Africa. to breathe life back into Africa. And it starts with our spirituality. Thank you so very much. Thank you for joining. You've been listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak with power. I hope you found this beneficial. Please do share, share, and share. We have to grow together. We need to build trust in our community. It starts with our spirituality. That's where we start. Thank you so much. I'll be back later on. Bye for now. Bye for now. 1 second, I'm just trying to end now. Thank you and bye for now. So, thank you. So, for those of you who are listening to us on YouTube, thank you so much. Please do share. I'm endeavored to share this again to other people. Sometimes when I'm doing the broadcast, I'm not able to get there, but anyway, I'm sharing this now. Thank you so very much. You've been listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak to our Batletron. Let me try and have a bit of a break, and I might come back later on this evening, if not till tomorrow. I want to come and talk about some things in Nigeria at some point, and in terms of the as you all know, I want to talk about the issue of participating in our governance, and I'll keep talking about that. That is a very important topic for us all. It's no longer about worrying about what the politicians are doing. We need to worry about, we have to now put our concern into what are we doing as communities to confront the problems that we face. Solution, solution, solution. We can no longer just be praying. Prayers is not the solution. Forget it. I'm not interested in prayers. If you are praying, you are not connected to African spirituality. Your spirituality will guide you to what you're supposed to do. That is what I'm talking about. So, but we need us to be aware of our constitutional rights in every community. And I want you to believe that in every community, we have the solutions to our problems. It requires collective effort, working together, holding those we elect into office to account. I'll give you more details about that once again. As you all know, I talk about Section 14.2a and 14.2c and how we can use that. And of course, you've got Section 79 and Section 1110. I'll give you more details as to what those sections means and how we can use it. But in all cases, we need to have monthly meetings as independent local community associations, local community associations, whereby you can identify areas of failings, bad infrastructure. Now you can call a town hall meeting and then demand answers from those you elected to office. It requires consistent effort every month. We can no longer, prayers in any church and any mosque is a waste of your time. We need to start taking collective action together. We have the solutions. Don't worry about what they're doing. Let them worry about what every community is doing. That way they will fix the light, the road, the water, the light, the schools, the bridges, healthcare. We need to do this collectively. But I'll come and give you more details about that. But for now, I hope you found this podcast today beneficial. Please do share. You're of course listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak with power about Batletron. Thank you, and of course, I'm about Batletron.